Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. The goddess signed in for a year, and I turned over. Chapter 21. At this time, Qi Xuanxuan, who was reading a novel with gusto, suddenly flashed a WeChat message on the phone screen. It was Lu Yunqi who sent over and asked her what to eat for lunch. He reluctantly switched to the WeChat page and replied to Lu Yun. At the branch office today, there is no need to make lunch for me. Then I switched to the app of Kidian Literature Network, and I began to immerse myself in the world of martial arts. At the door, after Ning Nanan spoke to the assistant left the conference room with an expression of disbelief. A person ran to the pantry and curiously downloaded an app from Kidian.com, searched Tianlong Ba Bu and looked at it. Inside the Fairview Villa, when Lu Yunqi saw Qi Xuanxuan's reply, he smiled bitterly, and asked the chef to make something to eat at noon. Now he has grown a lot of vegetables with special functions in his own planting space, and his wife and children don't go home to eat at noon, so he has no interest in taking them out. In the morning, Zhou Weiying called him again, saying that the hukou had been delivered to him by express delivery. Lu Yunqi also took out some vegetables from the growing space and delivered them to his parents. After dinner at noon, the editor of the website called and the two met in a cafe. When he came to the entrance of the coffee shop, he instantly felt a lot of eyes falling on him, and some people's whispers were faintly heard in his ears. Wow, my goodness, Wei Wei, look at the handsome guy at the door, he's so handsome. Really, what kind of fairy looks are all this, it makes me almost wet. Shish, keep it quiet, watch it carefully. When he walks, you can see his strong muscles vaguely from the seam of the shirt. Good man, I really want to touch it. The conversation between the two nympho girls made Lu Yun almost stagger and fall. These are all the flower idiots from where they dare to yell at me in front of me. Forget it, being handsome is indeed an annoyance, but I am already annoyed. As he was walking toward the cafe, a man who looked a little fat and had eyes stood up on the seat not far in front. Are you Du Guyan rising up? Zhou Yan stepped forward and asked in a low voice. Lu Yun nodded at the beginning. Please sit down. After confirming Lu Yunqi's identity, Zhou Yan stretched out his hand and made an inviting gesture. He was surprised and said, It doesn't matter if I write well, I am so handsome. I finally know why I was single for 22 years. Thank you. Lu Yun took the opportunity to sit down. For Zhou Yan's voice, although there are some differences on the phone, it can still be distinguished. After sitting down, the two shook hands in a friendly manner. Lu Yunqi asked straightforwardly, Last time you said you brought the contract here, did you bring it? Take it, take it. Zhou Yan nodded quickly, turned around and took out the contract from his bag. Zhou Yan may have given him a death order because the editor-in-chief must sign Du Yunqi, so he looked a little flustered. When handing the contract to Lu Yunqi, he reminded, This contract can be read first. Everything is in accordance with the highest standards in the industry. After reading it, we can discuss what is unsatisfactory. Good. Lu Yunqi accepted the contract and looked at it seriously. After all, the contract has a legal effect, and all the clauses should be read clearly first. Otherwise, it is said that there is a book station on the internet, and the signing is for the entire person of the author, and one signing is 20 years, that is, within 20 years, the author must only publish the book on this site, otherwise the contract will be breached. Therefore, every piece of Lu Yunqi was taken very seriously. But fortunately, in the contract that Zhou Yan brought, there were no pitfalls. It was just the normal profit sharing of some books, and the number of words in the entire book. Lu Yunqi is quite satisfied with the profit sharing. In terms of subscriptions and rewards, he gave 30% of the website and 70% of the author. Regarding the most profitable copyrights and adaptation rights of the novels, the website can help contact the authors without worrying about them, but the division is divided into 4 or 6 points. As for Lu Yun, he said that although this is a big head, his own current situation is not suitable for publicity, so he can still talk about the 4 or 6 points. Although the website usually needs to be operated or something, Lu Yunqi is still very confident in his book, so this 466 share still has to talk about the 3-tier profit for the website to make a lot of money. In this way, Lu Yunqi took a full 16-page A4 paper contract and sat in the coffee shop and looked at it slowly. Haochen Entertainment Office. Everyone is still immersed in the novel, and director Wang Jexi has the richest expression. Sometimes angry, sometimes moved, sometimes raised his hand and patted his elephant's leg, calling out, "Happy." When I got to the back, my eyes were flushed, and there were still tears on my cheeks. As a famous director, it is the first time that Wang Jexi has seen such a wonderful story, and this is just a novel, and it has not been processed by a screenwriter. It is an original ecological novel. Whether it is the development plot of the story, the various character settings in the book and the emotional lines in it, they are all exquisitely designed. When he also turned to the page of, "The author is working on the code word," all expressions came to an abrupt end. Is this all gone? I haven't seen the addiction yet. Who is that leader? At this moment, Wang Jexi has been completely attracted by this novel. As he finished watching, everyone in the conference room had finished watching, and all his faces were unfinished. Director Wang, how do you feel after reading it? Ning Nanan asked with a smile when he saw Wang Jexi also put down his phone. God made. This is simply a work of God. There are still people who can write such wonderful martial arts novels. If I were to rate them, I would give them 10 stars. The story in the book is really wonderful. I haven't seen it for so many years. A wonderful martial arts novel. Wang Jexi's thick lips kept trembling, and the inconceivable shock on his face was very obvious. It's okay to make a TV series. Ning Nanan embraced her arms, and the corners of her mouth rose slightly. Looking at Wang Jexi's expression, Ning Nanan said, "This face is so popping, there are almost fingerprints on it." Wang Jexi seemed to understand what Ning Nanan meant, and her face blushed, her voice was like a mosquito, and said, "Well, Mr. Ning, this time your eyes are really good." Although this face was a bit painful from the beating, Wang Jexi was very excited, and finally found a book that satisfies him, which can be made into a TV series. The author of this book definitely has a level above the great God level. We have to keep in touch, and we must take the right to edit this book and the rights to film and television. Wang Jexi stood up, looked at Qi Xuanxuan, and said with some excitement. This is the first time in his life that Wang Jexi is so excited about a novel. After finishing speaking, he couldn't help but gave a 5-star praise in the book circle, and even wrote a comment from his director's perspective. At this moment, Qi Xuanxuan has also finished watching, and she has decided in her heart that she must take this book and make it into a TV series. Although the opinions of the director and screenwriter are very important before filming of a TV series, if they disagree, Qi Xuanxuan will also buy the copyright and try it. Now that Wang Jexi agreed, Qi Xuanxuan turned her gaze on Xia Yingxi again and asked, "Screenwriter Xia, what do you think?" President Qi, I think director Wang's analysis is very right." Xia Yingxi raised her head and turned back, then lowered her head to look at the phone, and whispered in her mouth, "Huh. Where is this Cadian coin charged?" Wang Jexi, who was sitting next to her, heard these words accidentally, and his mind suddenly brightened, and he hurriedly moved his head and asked in a low voice, "Have you found it?" "If you find it, I will get it." Xia Yingxi raised her head and glanced, and the two of them showed a faint smile at the same time. However, at this moment, no one actually noticed that the sunlight outside the meeting room had turned golden. "Okay, that's it, Ning Nanan, you were responsible for contacting Cadian Literary Network, saying that we want to buy the copyright of this book." Qi Xuanxuan finally made a final decision. "Okay, President Ning. A novel that does not need to be adapted at all is very important to the current Haochen entertainment, and it is also of great benefit to the entire Haochen group. If a TV series can be made into a big hit, the market value of the entire company and the group headquarters will increase accordingly, and some of the company's artists can be cultivated at the same time. When artists become popular, they can receive more endorsements, and the company can make more money." After Qi Xuanxuan gave her instructions, she got up and left. She almost couldn't stand still when she got up. When her eyes fell out of the window, she realized that she had been sitting in this conference room for a day without knowing it. It's all to blame for the author of Tian Long Ba Bu, how can he write so beautifully? Let a group president, such a busy person, couldn't help but sit in the conference room and read novels all day. 4 p.m. Qi Xuanxuan returned to the group headquarters and began to deal with the backlog of work for the day. Lu Yunqi is already in Alistan kindergarten, waiting for these two little princesses. In the afternoon, I signed the contract with the website. Basically, Zhou Yan prepared the contract without any problems, so he signed it directly. It is worth mentioning that when Lu Yunqi was picking up Tang Tang and Guago, he actually met Yu Chuan, who was handsome. This guy actually refreshed Lu Yunqi's knowledge of the 3 words achiki. Holding a large bouquet of roses, he wanted to ask Xu Min for dinner, but Xu Min said, "What do you like about me, can't I change it?" He was speechless. But in the end, the guy actually said, "I just like the way you don't like me. When will you change it?" "I'll wait." Tang Tang couldn't help but vomit. "Dad, that uncle is so thick-skinned." Lu Yun smiled, feeling that he should not let the children come into contact with this kind of atmosphere. He picked up the 2 cuties and drove home. Because Qi Xuanxuan was going home for dinner in the evening, Lu Yunqi finished picking up the children, and after playing with them for a while, she walked into the kitchen and was ready to cook dinner. This time, we took out fresh potatoes and tomatoes from the planting space, as well as some bitter gourd and green peppers. Enough for the evening meal. While he was cooking, the phone rang suddenly. Lu Yunqi, who was concentrating on cooking, took out his mobile phone to see that Zhou Yan had called. "Hey, what's the matter?" Looking at the dishes in the pot in his hand, the phone was on his shoulder, and he asked. "Yunqi is great. It's like this. After I returned to the company in the afternoon, the company told me that someone wanted to buy the copyright of the film and television adaptation of your book. Then the editor-in-chief asked me to ask you about the estimated number of chapters and words for this book." Zhou Yan seemed to hear that Lu Yunqi was busy at the moment, so he said straightforwardly. Lu Yunqi didn't reply in a hurry. He picked up the phone and pondered for a while after cooking the dishes in the pot. The 8 original works of Tianlong are 1.54 million words in total. According to the world's 2,000 words in a chapter, it is almost 800 chapters. About 800 chapters, the total number of words is about 1.5 million words. After pondering for a moment, Lu Yun started to speak slowly. "Well, okay, then you will be busy first, I won't bother you." Zhou Yan was very excited when he heard that he had to write more than 1 million characters. According to the reaction of book friends in the past 2 days, this book has become a big hit, and as the editor of the book, he can also get a lot of bonuses. "Have you agreed to sell?" Lu Yun asked curiously when he was about to hang up. "Although I knew that this book would be a big hit, I didn't expect that now that it was only 100,000 words, someone would already start buying film and television rights." "Yes, someone is asking, but our company will still consider it carefully. In the end, we have a certain right to make a decision." Zhou Yan answered truthfully. "That's okay, hang up first, I'm busy." After speaking, he hung up the phone and continued cooking. When he finished cooking, he saw the time, it was almost 7 o'clock, but Qi Xuanxuan hadn't returned yet, so she sent a WeChat. Zan, are you still working overtime?" In the office of the president of Haochen Building at this moment. Qi Xuanxuan and Ning Nanan were discussing the purchase of the copyright of Tianlong's 8 films, when the mobile phone suddenly sounded a reminder. He took a look, stretched his frowning brows a little, and replied, "Well, there is something wrong with the company. I'll come back when I'm done." After returning, he was about to put down his phone, and Lu Yunqi's WeChat came again, "We are waiting for you to come back for dinner." "Yeah." Ning Nanan saw that she had something to do, so she said anxiously, "Mr. Qi, I called KidianLiterature.com today and said over there that I was the 10th company looking for them. Now even the price hasn't come out yet. The competition is so big." Qi Xuanxuan showed a trace of surprise on her face when she heard this. She rarely likes a book. Didn't expect that the first time she liked a martial arts novel, she would be stared at by so many colleagues. Ning Nanan nodded. In general novels, it is possible for 2 or 3 companies to grab each other when they encounter the kind of really popular books. I haven't really heard of a novel that can let more than 10 film and television companies come together to grab its copyright. How popular is this? And this is only a few days after the new book was released. After a long time, I am afraid that more companies will join in. It is even possible to attract those domestic entertainment giants to join, then even Haochen Group will not be able to compete. After all, in addition to the price of this kind of film and television copyright, there is also the overall strength of the company. If it is placed in Yudu, Haochen Entertainment will not worry at all, but if all major entertainment companies across the country have discovered it, it is hard to say. Have you heard of who the author is? Qi Xuanxuan asked. She also knows that a good work now is very important to Haochen Entertainment and herself. She has just taken over the group for a short time and urgently needs a defensible project to seal some people's mouths and deter some people. Hands and feet. Gideon didn't say that. It should be reluctant to disclose, but just registered our company and said that if they start bidding, they will notify us. Speaking of this, Ning Nanin's face was also a little unsightly, and he lowered his head and said. She personally called Gideon Literary Network, but she still didn't put out any valuable news, which made her feel a little incompetent. Okay, your side will follow up on this matter, I have to go home first. Qi Xuanxuan started packing the papers on the table in her hand. Okay, President Qi, then I will go first. Ning Nanan left the president's office after speaking. Qi Xuanxuan also packed her things and went home from get-off work. Back home, Lu Yunqi and two girls were playing games in the living room. As soon as they saw her coming home, the two little princesses greeted her. Mommy, Mommy, you're finally back, I'm almost hungry. Guogo opened her hands, pouting her mouth and shouted. Mummy, my belly is already flat. Tang Tang ran to Qi Xuanxuan and touched her belly, said with a very aggrieved expression. Thanks, wash your hands and prepare to eat. Lu Yun said, before walking into the kitchen to serve food. Qi Xuanxuan, who was still tired just now, saw this warm scene, and suddenly felt that all the tiredness had disappeared, and all the hard work was worthwhile. There is a lovely baby girl, and a handsome and diligent husband, everything is enough. After a sumptuous dinner, the two little babies ate 2 small bowls of rice. They didn't go to the children's room with the babysitter until their stomachs couldn't fit. Qi Xuanxuan has never dared to eat too much at night because she has kept her figure, but tonight she also ate 2 bowls of rice. If she were not afraid of gaining weight, she would have eaten another bowl. After eating, Lu Yun started to play with the 2 little babies, while Qi Xuanxuan plunged into the study. It wasn't until after 9 o'clock in the evening that Lu Yunqi put the 2 little treasures to sleep before returning to the bedroom. As soon as I entered the bedroom, I heard Qi Xuanxuan on the phone. Qi Xuanxuan's tone is very sincere and sincere. Mr. Yu, it's easy to talk about the price. I am really optimistic about this novel, otherwise I won't call you personally, just ask the price. Ah, this is really not a question of price. I haven't got the report below. Up to now, I don't even know how many words I expect to write in that book. How do you ask me to quote you? It was quiet at night, and the door of the study was not closed, so Lu Yunqi could hear the voice on the other end of the phone. Obviously, the person on the other end of the phone is also a veteran of the shopping mall, and the answer is also water talk, without any dry goods. Then who is the author of The 8 Parts of Heavenly Dragon? Qi Xuanxuan asked directly. Although she has only taken over the group for more than half a year, she also knows the routines of these old fried dough sticks in the market. As long as you inquire about the author's information, you can talk to the author directly at that time. Although the copyright of general novels are sold on the contracted website, the original author's suggestion is also very important, at least there is a certain advantage in the auction. Standing in the bedroom, Lu Yun began to tremble suddenly when he heard the words Tianlong Babu. Isn't this a new book I just published a few days ago? Under what circumstances does my wife's company want to buy its copyright? Does this make me very embarrassed? However, there was no answer on the other end of the phone. Qi Xuanxuan still didn't give up, and asked again, Mr. Yu, just tell me his contact information, and I will contact him by myself. At that time, the price will definitely not be less for you. Qi Xuanxuan knows that more than a dozen entertainment companies are staring at this book now, and she has just taken over the Haochen Group and must stabilize the entertainment section of one of the company's 2 major businesses. An apologetic voice came from the other end of the phone. I'm really sorry, President Qi, I really don't know now. If so many company CEOs called me personally today, I didn't even know that we started the literature website. Fire a martial arts novel. However, don't worry, I will tell the people below that if the film and television rights are really sold, I definitely hope to cooperate with President Qi, Yu. Then please come to Mr. Yu. Qi Xuanxuan's posture was very low, and finally she even said in an imploring tone, "If possible, I hope to directly contact Dugu Yun Kita and meet and chat together. It's easy to talk, easy to talk." Haha, he hung up the phone. Obviously, the people of Kidian Literature Network are not fools, so how could they call Qi Xuanxuan? Qin Ren, who had been overheard inadvertently outside the door, finally took a sigh of relief when he finally heard that Kidian Literature Network did not give her call to Qi Xuanxuan. This is the skill acquired by the system sign-in, but it can't stand scrutiny. Qi Xuanxuan had investigated herself before, but it was not easy to explain at that time. Now, what we have to do is to stay at the goddess house and accumulate our wealth. When the time comes, my brother will surely sweep a large area of the rich second generation. Qi Xuanxuan hung up the phone here, lacking interest, and couldn't even read the documents. On the mobile phone, the app of Kidian Literature Net was opened in a ghostly manner. In the bookshelf, the word, update, was displayed behind the book, Tianlong Ba Bu. He began to look at it with relish. When I watched it during the day, I happened to be stuck at a critical moment, and I don't know if Wang Yuyan was rescued after jumping off the cliff. After all, in the whole book, Wang Yuyan is a walking martial arts secret, and his appearance is very high. The emotional description between Merongfu and Duan Yu is also incisive, and it is easy for female readers to fall into it. What are you looking at? So absorbed. Lu Yun started holding a cup of coffee, gently pushed it to Qi Xuanxuan's hand, and asked curiously. "Ah, thank you." Lu Yunqi suddenly offered a cup of coffee, shocking Qi Xuanxuan, who was fascinated, and then said, "A very interesting novel." Lu Yunqi glanced secretly. Qi Xuanxuan's phone was showing that Wang Yuyan was about to commit suicide by jumping off a cliff, and the four villains and Duan Yu rescued the scene. Oh, what kind of novel is it that makes my goddess Xuanxuan so fascinated? Lu Yun raised his mouth slightly, asking knowingly. Fortunately, Duan Yu arrived in time, otherwise Wang Yuyan will. The title of the book is Tianlong Ba Bu. You can check it on the Kidian Literature website. It is very interesting. Too fascinated for a while, Qi Xuanxuan just cared about herself and sighed. Lu Yun got up and walked behind Qi Xuanxuan, putting his hands on her shoulders, gently kneading, holding back the smile in his heart, and said lightly. "I just heard what you said about the copyright. You guys don't want to buy the copyright of this novel, right?" Don't mention it. This book is so popular now that it has only published hundreds of thousands of words, but there are already more than a dozen entertainment companies wanting to buy the rights to its film and television adaptation. I don't know if it is because of Lu Yunqi's massage technique, or because the book is so good read. Qi Xuanxuan actually chatted with Lu Yunqi about the novel. It's so popular, only a few 100,000 words. Is its film and television copyright very expensive? Lu Yunqi asked. Qi Xuanxuan looked back at Lu Yunqi when she heard it, and then shook her head in her heart. How could it be possible that he was a barbecue seller before, and he didn't major in literature at university, just the same name suffix? If this book can write 1,000,000 words, the film and television adaptation rights may cost more than 20 million. Qi Xuanxuan said truthfully. After all, Lu Yunqi is the father of his child, and the two are already preparing to get the certificate, so it is not a bad thing to let him know a little bit properly, lest he will be out of touch with society when he brings the children at home all day. Suck, so high. Lu Yun lifted his hands to a halt slightly, surprised. But my heart is extremely happy. If I sell the film and television adaptation rights of this book, I will be a multi-millionaire. This is not the point is, I can write a lot. The next day, after Lu Yun got up early and sent the child to the kindergarten, he returned to the villa and called Zhou Yan to talk about the right to adapt the book to film and television. And I told Zhou Yan that he must not reveal any information about himself. My book is definitely for my wife's company. After arranging this matter, it was time for Lu Yun to write at least one word. According to his current hand speed, it is possible to update 20,000 words a day, and the book has only been published for a few days. The current response on Kidian Literature Network is also very good. After all, it is a classic martial arts, whether it is the plot or the character, the rhythm, with the appropriate benefits of Lu Yunqi's master-level study skills. So he didn't log into the writer's backend, so he opened Rod and started writing. In the middle of the journey, when he received the household registration book from his hometown, Lu Yunqi was still looking forward to it. I will be able to work with a certificate right away, and I'm too excited to think about it. One morning, after finishing coding more than 20,000 words, I updated it on time at 11 o'clock, and immediately took out the vegetables from her breathing space, preparing to make lunch for Qi Xuanxuan. For half a day this morning, Qi Xuanxuan has been discussing preparations for filming of Tianlong Ba Bu, since she received a call from Mr. Yu from Kidian Literature Network. She didn't expect that, after only one night, KidianLiterature.com actually agreed to sell the film and television adaptation rights of the book to herself without any bidding. She also asked why, but Mr. Yu gave her the answer that Haochen Entertainment is a local company in Yudu and the cooperation is more harmonious. Qi Xuanxuan obviously didn't believe Qizan's answer. But after many inquiries, she seemed to have a unified caliber throughout the opening point, all of which were answers, which made her even more curious. And when she wanted to find the author's contact information, Mr. Yu refused on the grounds that the author's privacy could not be leaked. Although Qi Xuanxuan was puzzled, she was still very happy that she had finally won the privacy of the 8 parts of the dragon. As for KidianLiterature.com, Zhou Yan conveyed Lu Yunqi's meaning to the editor-in-chief, and then the editor-in-chief reported it to President Yu Tian. There is a temporary rule in Kidian Literature Network that all writers' information must not be leaked, otherwise they will be sued for leaking commercial secrets. 11:40 noon. Lu Yunqi brought a loving lunch to the president's office of Haochen Building. Inside, Qi Xuanxuan was discussing with a few people from Ning Nanan, when suddenly the door of the office was pushed open. Who? Enter without knocking. Qi Xuanxuan was about to scold subconsciously, who was so rude. He looked up and saw Lu Yunqi in casual clothes, carrying a bag in his hand, and the anger in his heart instantly disappeared. It's time for lunch, Lu Yun reminded him by twisting the food in his hand. Ning Nanan turned to look at Lu Yunqi's voice. Let me go, who is this guy? He looks pretty handsome. No, what he holds in his hand seems to be a packing box, and he can enter the president's office, could it be? Ning Nanan whispered in his heart. His mind was thinking quickly, and then he took a sharp breath. Xia Yingxi just turned a glance, and then continued to look down at her mobile phone. Wang Jexi didn't even lift her head and was immersed in the novels of Tianlong. Director Wang, Editor Xia, we're going to have dinner, let's have something to eat. Ning Nanan shouted at the two of them, and gave them a look of, retire quickly. Lu Yunqi brought the lunch box to the office table and waited quietly. However, he took another look at Wang Jexi and Xia Yingxi. Listening to Ning Nanan's tone just now, they should be a director and a screenwriter. Seeing these two people, Lu Yunqi was a little expectant. What kind of feeling he can shoot Tianlong Ba Bu in this world? Of course, as for the screenwriter, Lu Yunqi is still confident. The whole book can be said that there is no need for the screenwriter to change anything. The director can directly find an artist to start shooting. Several people got up and said goodbye, and then left the office. It can be imagined that after the three of them go out, they will definitely talk about Lu Yunqi's identity. After the three of them left the office, Lu Yun looked at Qi Xuanxuan, go wash your hands and eat. Yeah, Qi Xuanxuan nodded in response, and then went to wash her hands. When she came back, Lu Yunqi had already put all the food on the table, especially the qi and blood cucumber, and put it on the side of the bowl. When Qi Xuanxuan was eating, Lu Yunqi consciously or unconsciously said, I received my hukou today. My mother meant that after we get the certificate, we will meet with both parents and talk about the wedding. After speaking, Lu Yunqi stared at Qi Xuanxuan's beautiful face earnestly, paying attention to all the changes in her expression. A few seconds later, Qi Xuanxuan said, yeah. When Lu Yunqi heard this answer, his face was stunned. What do you mean by saying, Just when Lu Yun was confused and puzzled, Qi Xuanxuan continued to explain, after receiving the certificate, we should take the time to visit your house. As for the wedding, my father has just passed away for half a year. According to the custom, I can't have a happy event within 3 years, so. The words are not finished, the meaning is obvious. Then the parents of both parties meet. Lu Yunqi continued to ask. Lu Yunqi agrees that a wedding can't be held within 3 years. If he had done it recently, he really didn't have the ability to do it. Give her a grand wedding. As for Qi Xuanxuan's family situation, Lu Yun has not been very clear until now. For this, after we go back to meet your parents, can I make arrangements again? Qi Xuanxuan said in a negotiated tone. For this answer, Lu Yunqi's surprise was indeed a little bit unexpected. Then I felt that Qi Xuanxuan's family seemed a bit complicated. Okay, just do what you said. Lu Yunqi was stunned for 2 seconds, then nodded. So obedient. Lu Yunqi's answer was also a big surprise to Qi Xuanxuan. In her opinion, how could Lu Yunqi continue to ask her why? But this man is slanted with the sword, he doesn't ask anything, he doesn't follow the script at all. That's a must. For such a fragrant golden soft rice, if you ask too much, isn't it boring to ask? Besides, you are married to me. What is more important than this? If there are difficulties, we will face the difficulties together. If there are no difficulties, of course it is the best. Lu Yunqi looked at Qi Xuanxuan, who was eating cucumbers with relish, and replied with a smile. With my toes, I can think of myself, a poor boy, taking such a beautiful and rich goddess. There will definitely be some resistance from her family. If it is really not prevented at all, it feels a bit abnormal instead. Don't all online novels write that way? Gao Leng's domineering female president finds a poor young man to marry, and she always meets a mother-in-law who is okay. At this point, Lu Yunqi was already quite prepared. But he believes that as long as he gives himself enough time, one day he will hold a grand wedding for Qi Xuanxuan in an upright hall, and that day will not be too far away. Qi Xuanxuan swallowed the flower melon in her mouth and stared at Lu Yun for 3 seconds, then a bright smile appeared on her face. After a brief daze, Qi Xuanxuan stood up and said, "Have I brought my household registration? I change my clothes and then go to get the certificate." "Bring it." Lu Yun nodded at the beginning. He brought the household registration book specially, just want to get the certificate first, so that his parents in his hometown can be at ease. After a few minutes, Qi Xuanxuan put on a snow-white chiffon dress and walked out of the lounge. Lu Yunqi was a little fascinated. The dignified and elegant dress made Qi Xuanxuan lose the coldness on her body, and became a little more agile and gentle. Her black shiny hair was casually draped over her shoulders, looking like a fairy who fell into the world. The mountains on his chest are ups and downs, and his straight long legs are matched with a pair of white shoes. "It's beautiful," Lu Yunqi praised involuntarily. Qi Xuanxuan heard Lu Yunqi's praise, her cheeks were a little hot, showing a shy expression. "Let's go, let's get the certificate." Qi Xuanxuan picked up her shoulder bag and took the initiative to hold Lu Yun's arm, like a little bird. Walking out of the office, the people outside saw this scene, and they all became petrified in an instant. The cold female president is actually wearing a skirt holding a man's arm. Could that handsome man be the husband of the president? Oh my God, the two walking together are like a companion of the Condor heroes. I won't eat any more at noon today, this wave of dog food is full. In the envy of these people, Lu Yunqi and the two walked into the elevator and went directly to the underground garage. Along the way, Lu Yunqi's heart was excited, and the soft squeezing sensation that came from time to time caused the blood temperature in his body to rise a lot. The soft pressure from Qi Xuanxuan gave Lu Yunqi the motivation to move forward. The two got into the car and the driver drove, so they sat directly in the back row. Lu Yunqi boldly stretched out his hand and gently hugged Qi Xuanxuan's slender waist. I don't know if it is because Lu Yunqi's performance has been recognized by Qi Xuanxuan in the past few days, or because of what. Qi Xuanxuan also leaned on Lu Yunqi's sturdy chest, like a little woman, enjoying her husband's embrace. Yu Shou also stroked Lu Yunqi's bulging muscle lines from time to time. This made Lu Yunqi's blood boil even more. If there were no people in the car, he would have liked to let Qi Xuanxuan experience the man's anger on the spot. However, this torture came to an end soon. The car stopped steadily in front of the Civil Affairs Bureau. After getting out of the car, Qi Xuanxuan held Lu Yun's arm like a bird. After entering the Civil Affairs Bureau, I don't know if Qi Xuanxuan arranged it specially, or what, the two of them were taken directly to a separate room and proceeded directly. The two really have a husband and wife, the golden boy and the jade girl, we are married. I wish you 100 years and happiness. The certificate is a middle-aged man, who looks young, but his mouth is still quite neat. In the process of applying for the certificate, he kept complimenting, and the smile on his face became even worse, making him look like his son and daughter-in-law licked him a fat grandson. With a sweet smile on her face, Qi Xuanxuan thanked the uncle who applied for the certificate. Lu Yunqi took out 2 packs of wedding candy from the bag, smiled and handed them to the man who issued the certificate, and said, "Thank you, thank you." At this moment, Lu Yunqi just wanted to shout loudly, "Mom, I finally got the certificate from the goddess, and I will be able to work with the certificate in the future." When the two went to take a photo of the marriage certificate, Qi Xuanxuan's face was even more happy. In the eyes of outsiders, this is as it should be, but only Lu Yunqi knows that he and Qi Xuanxuan have been in contact for less than a week. Suddenly receiving a marriage certificate made him feel a little nervous all over, which caused him to be dissatisfied after taking pictures several times. Qi Xuanxuan couldn't help but glared, "Can you still take a good photo?" Then, "I'm sorry, I got married for the first time, yes, I was a little nervous." Lu Yunqi suddenly stammered. These words made the staff who took the picture really couldn't hold back, and laughed unkindly. Qi Xuanxuan's face is full of black lines. At this moment, she had an urge to choke Lu Yunqi to death. His words made people hear as if she was not married for the first time. It took almost 10 minutes for the whole process to come down, and the two finally got their own red books. Lu Yun picked up the red book and looked at the photo with the stamp on it. Well, it matches. However, Hong Ben didn't get hot in his hands, so he took it directly from Lu Yun. "Leave the marriage certificate to me for safekeeping." Lu Yunqi did not speak. "I want to cry, I really want to think about it." Qi Xuanxuan looked at Lu Yunqi and took out 2 boxes from her bag. "This is a wedding gift, a custom-made watch, one for each person." After speaking, he opened the box and took out a watch with a sun pattern on the dial. Lu Yun raised his eyes and saw that the praiseworthy hollow design, the translucent dial, the standard sun pattern, the admission ticket for billionaires, Richard Miller. On a certain sound, I saw the rich second generation showing off his wealth, so he also knew this brand. The rain in my heart just now suddenly turned fine at this moment. "Extend your left hand," Qi Xuanxuan ordered. Lu Yunqi stretched out his left hand in a dull manner, with mixed feelings in his heart. This watch costs a lot of money. What gift should I buy for her at night? Soon, Qi Xuanxuan brought a watch to Lu Yunqi, nodded in satisfaction, and praised, "Well, it suits you. This one, you put it on for me." Immediately, Qi Xuanxuan took out another female watch and handed it to Lu Yunqi. Women's watches are light pink overall, similar in design and style, except that in the center of the dial is a crooked moon surrounded by 32 dazzling stars. I have to say that this watch is quite suitable for Qi Xuanxuan's temperament. Lu Yunqi understood the meaning of a sun and a moon. "It's a good match. Thank you, madam," Lu Yun said sincerely after putting on the watch for Qi Xuanxuan. Qi Xuanxuan heard the words, "Madam," her cheeks flushed, she looked at him with some emotion, and almost shouted the words, "Husband," and she held back at the last minute. I thought to myself that he couldn't make him happy too early, otherwise, he might have something to do. When Lu Yun raised his hot gaze and looked at Qi Xuanxuan's shui-ling eyes, his body leaned forward involuntarily. The atmosphere is in place. When Qi Xuanxuan was about to close her eyes to greet her, suddenly her cell phone rang. Well, the good atmosphere is broken. Lu Yunqi had 10,000 grass and mud horses galloping past in his heart. "Say, what's the matter?" Qi Xuanxuan asked coldly, taking out her mobile phone. Although there are not too many strange expressions on his face, the small fists in his hands clenched tightly, and he kept telling himself in his heart to calm down. She must have something very important, and it must be so. "Qi, President Qi, I'm sorry to bother you." Kedian Literary Network said that the book, Tianlong Ba Bu, is expected to be completed in about 1.5 million words. Let's go over and talk about the contract. On the other end of the phone, it was Ning Nanen's voice. Maybe through the phone, I could feel the chill radiating from Qi Xuanxuan's body, and her voice trembled slightly. After answering the phone, Qi Xuanxuan turned to Lu Yun and said, "I have something to do with my company. Go to the company first. Go home by yourself." The copyright of Tianlong Babu is very important to Qi Xuanxuan, so even if she feels reluctant to give up, she has to go to the company to deal with this matter. Immediately, Qi Xuanxuan hurriedly got into the Maybach car and disappeared on the road. Lu Yunqi was left standing alone, being raged by the breeze. He wanted to follow the phone signal to climb over and beat up the caller to disrupt the atmosphere, and he was about to succeed. Pooh! Seeing that he was about to succeed, he was interrupted mercilessly. The most bleak thing in the world is being ruthlessly abandoned by the road by his wife just after receiving the certificate. In a moving car. Miss, let's just leave my uncle on the side of the road, is it really okay? The assistant Xiao Jiyu said suddenly as he looked at the gradually smaller figure in the mirror. When Qi Xuanxuan turned her head and looked through the glass window, she could no longer see Lu Yunqi, and then she said, I think I should let Yunqi introduce you a boyfriend next time. Ah, miss, why? With a boyfriend, you don't have so much nonsense. Qi Xuanxuan said lightly. A sense of guilt also rose in my heart, but when I thought that the book, The 8 Parts of the Dragon, might be her first battle in the Haochen group, she abruptly suppressed the emotion in her heart. Subconsciously took out his mobile phone, found the app of KidianWenzu.com, opened the bookshelf, and saw that Tianlong Babu had been updated again, and started to look at it decisively. On the other side, Lu Yun lifted up some heavy hands. After watching for a long time, he didn't see what time it was. Finally, he took out his phone to check the time. It's 2:30 in the afternoon. Well, it's time to go back to the codeword again. Just as he was about to walk to the side of the road to take a taxi, he was suddenly hit by a desperate man behind him. I'm sorry. Then he heard an apology. Lu Yun looked back and saw that he was a man in his 20s. Although he was not as handsome as the readers, he still seemed to be able to score 7 points overall. A pair of black suit trousers, the white shirt neckline, the light blue tie looked a little loose, the suit jacket was put on his shoulders, and his hair was a little messy. It feels like an ambitious young man who has just been beaten up by society. It's okay. Lu Yunqi seemed to have guessed something and said, Brother, I think you have been standing here for a long time just now, maybe you just got divorced, did your wife run away with the rich? The man's tone was a little low, his eyes full of anger and unwillingness. Lu Yunqi was speechless. The laborer and his wife had just received the certificate, but they were just thrown on the side of the road to study the weight of money. Brother, how come you can tell that I feel like the end of the world has fallen into humans at the same time? It seems that the brain hurts not lightly. Lu Yunqi was about to explain. The man patted him on the shoulder, and said with a grudge on his face. Brother, this society is like this, without identity, without money, which woman will follow us? Lu Yunqi was slapped heavily by the man, he almost couldn't stand firm, and quickly stepped back 2 steps, saying, Dude, what you said is right, but Brother, the 2 of us are also destined, let's go, I invite you to have a drink. Before Lu Yunqi could finish speaking, the man walked up and hooked his shoulders and said. Lu Yun started to lose money, what's this all about? Should I rush back to the codeword? Besides, am I familiar with you? Going to drink? My buddy, I understand your feelings, but we are not familiar with it. I have something to do, so I'll leave first. Lu Yun lifted the hand on his shoulder and walked away a few steps away. Hey, brother, don't think too much, it's okay, when we are rich in the future, we can still marry a beautiful wife. Lu Yunqi turned around and stopped the taxi. The man was still on the spot, shouting, Comfort, Road. By the way, my name is Wen Dongxing. I am a seller. If you want to buy a house in the future, remember to find me. When the taxi stopped in front of Lu Yun, before he got in, Wen Dongxing walked up quickly and handed him a business card. After getting in the car, Lu Yunqi hurriedly asked the driver to drive. Lu Yunqi patted his chest until the taxi had left for a long time, and muttered softly. I didn't read the almanac when I went out today, how could I meet such a person who was released without taking medicine? After sighing, Lu Yunqi called his mother again to announce the good news. Afterwards, he took a look at the business card that Wen Dongxing had just given. Good guy, it's actually from Haochen Real Estate. I don't know if the world is too small, or my wife's industry is too big, this can meet the people of Haochen Group. When he got home at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Lu Yun started to code words crazily. The recommendation of the website is now enough. What kind of results can be achieved depends on oneself. The other side. Qi Xuanxuan returned to the company. Ning Nanan was already waiting at the company early. Originally, the general manager of a branch of her company was perfectly fine for this kind of contract signing, but Qi Xuanxuan insisted that she had to go by herself, and by the way, she asked about the author's practice method. After all, after my company bought the copyright, if you want to make this TV series well, the original author's suggestion is also very important. Especially in the shaping of some characters, with the opinions of the original author, it can better create the image of the martial arts world in front of the screen. Qi Xuanxuan and Ning Nanan came to Kidian Literature Network Company, and the company's CEO Yu Tian personally received them. Mr. Qi, you can send someone to sign a contract. Why do you bother to go there yourself? In the office of the president of Kidian.com, the figure is a little blessed, but Yu Tian, who has very thick hair, laughs. Asked nonchalantly. In fact, Qi Xuanxuan didn't say anything. Yu Tian also knew in her heart that this grandma, who had nothing to do without going to the Three Treasures Hall, would definitely want to get some information when she came in person. Ms. Yu, you are a senior, as a junior, I should come to visit. Qi Xuanxuan replied. Qi Xuanxuan also admired this Yu Tian. It is said that he was just a literary youth before. He published many articles in major newspapers at the time and was considered a celebrity in the literary world. I started to create Kidian Literature Network at the age of 30, and now I am 50 years old. It took 20 years to transform the company from a small website into a market value of billions. It has made Kidian Literature Network the benchmark and leader of the entire Wagwo Literature Network. President Qi is polite. You are polite, come and have tea. Yu Tian said with a smile on his face. Mr. Yu, let's talk about business first. Regarding the film and television adaptation rights of Tian Long Ba Bu, the price you quoted is 32 million. I will not bargain with you. Qi Zan slowly said while looking at the contract. Yu Tian is also an old fritters in a shopping mall, and did not rush to answer. He knows that Qi Xuanxuan has something to say. Really? Seeing Yu Tian smile, Qi Xuanxuan continued, I want the original author's contact information or address. In Qi Xuanxuan's view, the 32 million adaptation copyright fees of Tianlong Babu are very high in the industry as a whole. But she doesn't care about these, because she believes that someone who can write such a high level and such a hot novel is absolutely brilliant. Regardless of this book, if it can be drawn together, it will definitely be a good thing for Haochen Entertainment. I'm really sorry for this. The original author specially asked us not to reveal his true identity, so I can't give it to you. Yu Tian picked up a cup of tea, took a sip, and said apologetically. Just kidding, what kind of calculations these people have in their hearts, can he not know for Yu Tian? Now Dugu Yunqi is a cash cow for Kidian literature. How can it be possible to give his information to others? Moreover, the two sides have negotiated that within 3 years, Du Guian will write at least 3 novels on Kidian Literature Network, but the premise is that Kidian Literature Network cannot reveal his identity. Therefore, even if it is a good cooperative relationship, Yu Tian will not do things that are harmful to the company's interests. Mr. Yu, this shouldn't be. Qi Xuanxuan did not give up and continued to ask. Yu Tian picked up a cup of tea and pushed it in front of Qi Xuanxuan, saying, Mr. Qi, come and have tea. In the end, Qi Xuanxuan failed. After signing the contract with Ning Nanan and Kidian Literature, they went straight back to their company. Inside the car, Mr. Qi, why don't we just go private and ask the original author? Judging from the book he has written so far, even the company's screenwriter Shaw and director Wang are greatly admired. If we can dig it over, then. Quote. Ning Nanan sat in the co-pilot, turned her head and looked at Qi Xuanxuan, who didn't look very good and said. Qi Xuanxuan did not speak, her hands pinched her high nose. After a moment of contemplation, he slowly said, the reason why the people of Kidian are so confidential is that they have been instructed by the original author. The company should better prepare for the preliminary work of shooting. There was impatience in his tone. Originally thought that he had passed by himself, how Yu Tian would give face, only to find out when he went there. In the eyes of the older generation of entrepreneurs, one's own face is worthless. Splendid villas. After Lu Yunqi knocked the last period, he got up and moved his fingers. In the afternoon, I have finished coding another 20,000 words, Shu Chong. It was already 4 o'clock, and it was time to pick up her daughter from school. From the breathing space, I took 2 cucumbers and drove to Alistan International Kindergarten while eating to replenish my brain power. Not to mention, this chi blood cucumber is quite suitable for one after the code is written. By the time he arrived at school, the 2 cucumbers had already been eaten, and the dizziness in his head had disappeared as soon as he had finished coding. At the school gate, I unexpectedly met Yu Chuan, who was handsome, and licked his face and chatted with Lu Yunqi. The main content is how to chase girls and why teacher Shu always avoids herself. Lu Yunqi had no interest in communicating with him at all. As for how to chase girls, sorry, I'm a drinker. And what Shu Min would avoid him, but anyone who occasionally looks in the mirror knows. Finally, after receiving 2 little babies from school, Lu Yunqi and Shu Min talked a few words, and then directly took Tang Tang and Guogo into the car. When I was leaving, I saw from the mirror of the car that Yu Chuan took out a large bouquet of roses from the storage box on the front cover of the car and stood in front of Shu Min. As for the dialogue scene behind the two, Lu Yunqi didn't want to know. He has a very important battle tonight. Why would he be interested in an incident involving the second generation of licking the rich girl? Lu Yunqi drove his car to the center of Yudu. Tang Tang, who was sitting in the back row, looked outside the car and said in surprise, "Dad, where are we going?" When Guogo on the side heard her sister asking this, she quickly turned her head and glanced out of the car window. She said milkily, "Daddy, this is not the way home. Did you go the wrong way? Baby, today Dad will take you to the mall. Shall we go shopping for something before going home?" Lu Yunqi looked at the rearview mirror and smiled. "Wow, yeah, I'm going to buy Baral a little demon immortal." Guogo said excitedly first. "Dad, I want to buy a teddy bear, which is super big." Tang Tang thought for a while before reaching out and making gestures, and said. Lu Yunqi saw in the rearview mirror that Tang Tang was actually about the same size as her own. "No problem, Dad, buy it for you." Lu Yun replied with a petting look on his face. Oye, Dad wants to buy me toys." The 2 little princesses became excited when they heard it, dancing in the car, and they even sang nursery rhymes. "Twinkle twinkle little stars, how I wonder where you are." The most prosperous raffle city in the center of Yudu. Lu Yun started to park the car and walked into the mall with a baby in one hand. First, I took the 2 little princesses. In the children's products area, one person originally bought one, but in the end, one person bought 2. Because when Tang Tang saw Ba Lal a little demon fairy's toy, she also liked it, so Lu Yunqi bought a Ba Lal a little demon fairy toy for one person, and bought another Tang Tang's favorite, super big, Thai toy. Di Shang. Coming out of the children's area, Lu Yunqi finally felt why the more prosperous the shopping mall, the more expensive the things inside. A teddy bear toy, if you usually buy it outside, it costs 100 yuan at most, but there is 388 inside, and there is no bargaining. A princess dress toy of the little devil fairy is also 300 to 400 yuan. "Hey, Tang Tang, Guogo, why are you here?" Just when Lu Yunqi was preparing to head to a jewelry store with 2 girls, a crisp female voice sounded from behind him. Lu Yun looked back and looked. The visitor was Qi Xuanxuan's best friend, Bai Cha. Today, wearing a white short-sleeved t-shirt, JK hot pants, a pair of straight long white legs successfully attracted the attention of countless men. Dressed less, the petite and exquisite figure and the undulating mountains are even more eye-catching. "Hello Auntie Bai. Hello Auntie Bai." The 2 little princesses also turned their heads and greeted Bai Cha politely. White Tea walked to Tang Tang and Guogo, and paused to tease the child. Lu Yunqi's disobedient gaze unexpectedly saw a white landscape. Amitabha, Sin. Madams should be a bit older than her. "Handsome guy, what are you here to buy? Isn't Zan still working overtime in the company?" Bai Cha stood up, holding a baby in one hand, and asked Lu Yun. Oh, I just took the 2 of them to the mall and just take a look." Lu Yunqi said in embarrassment in his mind, trying to delete the scene just now. "Auntie Bai, Dad said he was going to buy a necklace for his mother." Guogo dismantled the stage mercilessly. Lu Yunqi felt a group of crows flying past his forehead. "Daughter, sometimes, there is no need to say so much. Your Aunt Bai is a rich second-generation, rich person. If your father I bought it cheaper, it would be a shame." Lu Yunqi now only has 100,000 yuan given by Qi Xuanxuan a few days ago, and this is all his wealth. Judging from the watch Qi Xuanxuan gave herself, the price is definitely not cheap, but now she can't afford the expensive one. Moreover, if Baicha knew about it, then Qi Xuanxuan would definitely know for the first time. Wouldn't there be no surprises then? Ah, handsome guy, you want to buy a necklace for Zan Zan, walk around, I'll be your advisor, I know her preferences very well. The white tea pulled Tang Tang and Guago and walked in toward a jewelry store. It seemed to be buying for her, extremely excited. Seeing that Bai Cha and the two little princesses had entered the jewelry store, Lu Yunqi also slowly walked in. When he came to Bai Cha, he whispered, "Well, don't talk to Zan Zan, I want to surprise her." "That's it depends on what you find to seal my mouth." Bai Cha smiled slightly, raising her head slightly. "He looks like handsome guy, please, 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 I won't tell Zan Zan." Cucumber, my own cucumber. Lu Yun thought about it for a while. For this rich second generation, he has nothing to look at. Suddenly, when the white tea went to the house for a meal, he did not eat cold cucumber. So he said in a low voice, "Huh." A blush quickly rose on Bai Cha's immature face, and an inexplicable anger was about to explode in his heart. "Auntie Bai, my father's cucumbers are really delicious. My mother likes to eat them. I eat them every day." Tang Tang raised his head and scratched his head, said in a tender voice. Yes, my sister and I also like to eat Dad's cucumbers." Guago also came to an assist. When I heard the white tea, the fire in my heart was gone, but his face looked like a ripe apple. "It's so ashamed, how can I be crooked? No, it's him. He didn't make it clear that what he grows is his own. I have to talk about my own cucumbers, which makes me want to crooked." "How many? What do you want to buy?" Just when Bai Cha was embarrassed, she walked over and thought the waiter asked. "Oh, he wants to buy a necklace." Bai Cha reacted, pointed to Lu Yunqi, and said to the waiter. "Sir, what kind of necklace do you want to buy?" The waiter asked with a smile. In the eyes of the waiter, this is really a couple of gods and goddesses, handsome men and beautiful women. "Ladies' necklace. Do you have any recommendations? The price is less than 100,000 yuan." Lu Yunqi walked to the counter and began to look carefully. In fact, he doesn't understand necklaces, let alone necklaces of around 100,000 pieces. When the waiter heard this, he looked at him in shock, and then looked at the white tea holding Tang Tang and Guago next to him. "I really envy the beauty, my husband is willing to buy you such a good necklace." After speaking, he walked into the counter and went to get the necklace. "White tea, what's the situation?" "Hey, you misunderstood, I'm just his wife's best friend, not." Speaking of this, I looked at Lu Yunqi, then set his gaze on his hand, just holding a lovely daughter. This scene is indeed quite easy to misunderstand. Lu Yunqi was full of black lines when he heard it. When the waiter came out with the necklace, he immediately explained, "I bought it for my wife, not for her, so don't get me wrong." When Bai Cha heard Lu Yunqi's explanation, there was a bit of loss in her heart. The waiter's face changed slightly, he couldn't help but glanced at the white tea, and there was a strange look in his eyes. But then he resumed his professional smile, and then began to introduce the necklace. "This midsummer night symbolizes sincere love, a companionship that looks close to each other, and the style is also very beautiful, which should meet your requirements." "How much?" "Sir, the price of this one is 99,999. The waiter replied. Lu Yunqi glanced at it for a while. The necklace was indeed beautiful, and it matched Qi Xuanxuan's temperament very well, so he said directly, "Yes, this is it, please wrap it up for me." The waiter was a little surprised. This handsome guy is too generous, he didn't bargain. I have prepared a lot of words, and I am ready to discuss the price with him. Who would have thought that he is so decisive? After regaining his senses, he responded quickly and went to pack the necklace. Bai Cha kept watching and didn't speak, but his eyes were full of envy, and Qi Xuanxuan was even more jealous in his heart. How did she find such a handsome, generous and good cook? Should I go to the bar to get drunk too? Forget it, this high-risk method is not suitable for me. Soon, the waiter handed over the wrapped necklace, and Lu Yunqi handed over the bank card Qi Xuanxuan gave him when they met on the first day. After paying the money, Lu Yunqi left the jewelry store. "Beauty, I have to go home to cook for Zan Zan, we'll leave first. Lu Yunqi said politely. Are you going to cook? The relationship is good. Go, Tang Tang, Guago, today auntie will go to your house to play with you. When I heard the white tea, I recalled the delicacy that night, and I felt that my taste buds were being teased and led. The two little girls started walking forward. Aunt Bai, are you going to our house? Good, good. Guago still liked white tea very much. When she heard that white tea was going to play with them at home, she exclaimed in excitement. Tang Tang wrinkled her nose and looked at Guago and said in a low voice, Sister, you don't know. Aunt Bai actually wants to go to our house for a meal. She went, and you won't be able to eat so many spare ribs tonight. Quote. Although the voice was small, it also reached Baicha's ears. Bend down and said to Tang Tang, Honey, how can you say such a thing? Auntie will buy you lollipops later, okay? With a bitter smile in my heart, children nowadays really know too much. No, Dad said, eating too much sugar will lead to tooth decay. Tang Tang shook his head and said, in order to eat more ribs made by my father at night, I must not be overwhelmed by sugar-coated shells. Finally, Baicha coaxed the two little princesses for a long time. As for Lu Yunqi, he could only be a driver with a wry smile. No way, I just promised to eat cucumbers for her, and on the night of getting the certificate, a wife's best friend had a meal together, which was okay. In this way, Lu Yun got up and drove white tea and the two little princesses back to the villa. As soon as he came back, Lu Yunqi went into the kitchen and started preparing dinner. White tea was taken to the children's toy room by the two little princesses to play with toys. At about 7 o'clock in the evening, Qi Xuanxuan came home from get off work, and she was surprised to see that Bai Cha actually came to eat dinner again. The daughter of the dignified Bai family unexpectedly came to eat again. It seems that the meals made by her husband are indeed attractive and powerful. Because today is the day when Lu Yunqi and his wife receive the certificate, he deliberately cooked a table full of dishes. When eating, Lu Yunqi put a fresh cucumber and several small tomatoes picked from the planting space in front of him alone. It was the first time that Baicha saw that such a large table of delicious food would actually put a cucumber on it. Qi Xuanxuan looked at the little tomatoes in the bowl curiously, and the questioning gaze fell on Lu Yunqi. This is little tomato, it has the effect of beautifying, try it later. Lu Yunqi explained. Qi Xuanxuan believed that the material and fruits that Lu Yunqi had obtained had special functions. First pick up the cucumber in front of you, break it into two skillfully, and eat it, puffy puffy. Bai Cha sat next to her, suddenly smelled a delicate fragrance, swallowed her saliva, looked at Qi Xuanxuan's enjoyment, and picked up the cucumber in front of her, and began to learn it in a decent way. Click. The cucumber juice exploded in the white tea's mouth, unprecedented sweetness, which constantly stimulated her taste buds, and countless juicy flesh burst in her mouth. This feeling is really cool and satisfying. Handsome, your cucumbers are so delicious. Bai Cha couldn't help but praise her with a satisfied expression on her face. Qi Xuanxuan listened to this, why is she so awkward? Especially when I saw the refreshing look on Bai Cha's face, my heart was even more awkward. Qi Xuanxuan coldly looked at Lu Yunqi. Lu Yunqi, with an innocent expression on his face, also looked at Qi Xuanxuan at this time, with his eyes facing each other, feeling the temperature in the room dropped sharply. Bai Cha realized that this anger suddenly became a little embarrassing, only to realize that what she said just now made people hear something different, and her face turned into a ripe apple. He quickly lowered his head and stuffed the small tomatoes in the bowl one by one into his mouth. At this moment, he just wanted to find a hole to hide in for a while. Dad, I want to eat that big crab. After Tang Tang finished eating a cucumber, she pointed to a plate of hairy crabs, and said with milky voice. The awkward atmosphere was broken by her immature voice. Okay, Dad, get it for you. Lu Yun responded, standing up and pinching a hairy crab for his daughter. A dinner, in a slightly awkward atmosphere, ended. After eating, Bai Cha chatted with Qi Xuanxuan for a while, then reluctantly asked her driver to pick her up. After sending away the white tea, Qi Xuanxuan took the two little babies to play in the garden. Lu Yunqi went to the room and sent the updated manuscript that night. Although my book is not bad now, this update promised to readers' fathers is unstoppable. When he finished sending the manuscript and came to the garden, the phone rang suddenly. I took out my mobile phone and saw that it was the video from my mother Jo Weiying. Lu Yunqi has been thinking about whether to pick it up or not. After all, this video is suddenly on. If Qi Xuanxuan is unhappy, then this night in the bridal chamber, he might not be able to get in the car. Whose video? Why not take it? Qi Xuanxuan asked curiously. My mother. Ah. Qi Xuanxuan suddenly felt extremely nervous, and after taking a deep breath, let's take it, today is the day for us to get the certificate, so we should see our parents-in-law. Lu Yunqi connected the video. On the video, Jo Weiying asked excitedly, Son, where is my baby granddaughter? Tang Tang, Guago, come and say hello to grandparents. Lu Yunqi smiled bitterly and pointed the camera at the two little princesses who were playing. The two sisters came to Lu Yunqi's side, looked at the screen in their hands, two completely strange faces, a little timid, their small lips closed tightly. At the end of the video, Jo Weiying finally saw her two granddaughters with smiles on their faces. He laughed so hard that he couldn't close his mouth, and asked, Two babies, tell grandma, which of you is Tang Tang and who is Guago? Lu Yunqi's father, Lu Kun, is extremely happy at this moment, but his face is not as exaggerated as Jo Weiying's expression. Because the face of the lotus and the back of the sky all the year round, the skin is a little dull, the beard is not shaved, and it looks a little sloppy. Let Tang Tang and Guago take a look at each other, the somewhat terrifying grandpa started crying. Son, what's the matter? When Jo Weiying saw that her lovely granddaughter was crying, she shouted eagerly on the other side of the video. Lu Yun was confused, Qi Xuanxuan looked ashamed. The husband and wife really don't know what the situation is. The two babies are usually very cheerful at school, and they shouldn't be so exaggerated when they meet strangers. When Lu Yunqi followed the gazes of the two little babies and looked at the screen, he seemed to understand something, and said embarrassingly, Dad, Mom, are you guys talk to Zan first? After speaking, she handed the phone to Qi Xuanxuan, and she was going to coax the two little babies. Jo Weiying and Lu Kunliang were also at a loss just now. The first time they saw their baby and granddaughter were in trouble, now they are going to see their daughter-in-law, and they feel a little nervous. It is said that the daughter-in-law will be nervous when seeing the in-laws, but now, the in-laws are becoming nervous. 2 days ago, Lu Yunqi told Jo Weiying and others that his daughter-in-law is a busy man, very beautiful, and the company's chief executive. Qi Xuanxuan sweated her palms and took the phone nervously. She now manages such a large company as Haochen Group, and has never worked so intensely after encountering so many things, but now. You're Xuanxuan, really beautiful. On the other side of the phone screen, Jo Weiying's smile became brighter after seeing Qi Xuanxuan's peerless face. After all, Qi Xuanxuan was young, and it was the first time to see her father-in-law. She was still a little shy, nodded slightly, and said, Mom, Dad, hello, my name is Qi Xuanxuan. When Jo Weiying heard Qi Xuanxuan's sweet voice, her heart was as sweet as she had eaten honey. Okay, what a nice girl, ha ha, ha ha. Keep nodding their heads in applause, the old couple are really satisfied with this daughter-in-law. For the next 10 minutes, Lu Yunqi coaxed the two babies, and then he heard Qi Xuanxuan chatting with his parents. Until later, I heard Qi Xuanxuan say, Mom, I will go back to Yuncheng to see you and Dad with Yunqi and the babies in a few days. Now my family is not in China, so I can't meet yet. Please forgive me. It can be seen that Qi Xuanxuan has already told Jo Weiying and his wife the reason for not holding the wedding for the time being. Well, okay, girl, if that kid Yunqi dared to bully you, tell Mom must tear him up with her hands and give you a vent. Jo Weiying promised, patting her chest. Obviously, between the son and the daughter-in-law, Jo Weiying did not hesitate to stand on the side of the daughter-in-law. And Dad, if that little fool dares to treat you badly, I will hack him. Lu Kun, who had been squeezed in a corner of the screen, also poked his head out and said. Lu Yun hugged the two baby girls, his face full of love. Well, Dad, Mom, Yunqi treats me very well, don't worry. Qi Xuanxuan glanced at Lu Yunqi with a weird smile on her face, and then added, if he dares to bully me, I will do it myself and tear him up. After speaking, the other hand, still outside the video screen, squeezed his small fist. Lu Yun drooped his head, picked up Tang Tang and Guago, and walked aside. Here, it's all about finding the sin and suffering by yourself, or it's better to go a little farther quickly. As for the latter, it was Zhou Weiying who taught Qi Xuanxuan the experience of damning husbands. Half an hour later, Tang Tang and Guago, it was time to go to bed, and Lu Yunqi took the two little babies to the room. When he coaxed the two girls out, the video was finally over. It's over. Lu Yun got up to the garden and said something embarrassingly. Well, it's over. Qi Xuanxuan nodded, the corners of her mouth raised slightly, and continued, I found that Momzayuhu experience is still very rich, and I very much agree with the concept. Lu Yun suddenly remembered his father's position in the family, and his face became very ugly. Then, ma'am, if we get the certificate today, we don't need to promulgate the family rules first. Lu Yun immediately confessed. Then it depends on your performance. Qi Xuanxuan said with a smile on her shoulders. Take a deep breath and calm your mind. Lu Yunqi put his hand into his trouser pocket, constantly cheering himself up, brewing emotions. A pair of tiger pupils looked at Qi Xuanxuan with an expression, and said, Madam, today is our wedding night, I have a gift for you. Quote. Oh, what is it? Qi Xuanxuan asked curiously with a slight smile on her face. Lu Yunqi slowly took out the necklace box from his pants pocket. The moment he took out the necklace, Qi Xuanxuan was stunned, her cheeks glowing slightly red, but her heart was unspeakably sweet. She didn't expect Lu Yunqi to buy her a present. When Lu Yunqi saw the expression on Qi Xuanxuan's face, he was very pleased. He held the necklace in his hand and said softly, Come on, I'll help you put it on. Yeah, Qi Xuanxuan replied in a low voice, and then handed it over her white neck. The moment, a midsummer night, was worn on Qi Xuanxuan's neck, it seemed to have found its suitable owner, and it became even more dazzling. Madam, you are so beautiful. Lu Yun couldn't help but praise. In the eyes, the color of appreciation was unabashedly revealed. The blush on Qi Xuanxuan's face was even worse, and her smile changed from surprise to happiness. As a daughter of the Haochen group, there is no shortage of necklace jewelry at home, but at this moment, she discovered that this necklace is the most beautiful and precious. The two of them were already close together. Qi Xuanxuan stepped her feet slightly, pecked on Lu Yunqi's face, and gently said in his ear, Husband, you are also very handsome. The heat followed Lu Yun's ears, reaching the depths of his heart, and the whole person was as if being shocked by an electric shock. Too gentle, too seductive, and the animal blood is boiling. Boldly raised her hands, embraced Qi Xuanxuan in her arms, lowered her head and said affectionately, Madam, I like you. Lu Yunqi did not say love her at this time, because the time between the two was too short. He himself did not believe in the so-called love at first sight. At the same time, he was worried that Qi Xuanxuan would think he was fake and exaggerated. Only with long-term love can you be happier and longer. Qi Xuanxuan's cheek was pressed against Lu Yunqi's sturdy chest, her ears were a little hot, she looked up at Lu Yun emotionally, opened her mouth, but there was no sound. But Lu Yunqi still understood her meaning from her mouth. At this moment, the eyes were facing each other, and there was only the shadow of each other in each other's eyes. Under the dim yellow light in the garden, everything around seemed to hold their breath, leaving the best atmosphere to them. Qi Xuanxuan slowly closed her eyes, her attractive red lips naturally opened slightly, and her heartbeat accelerated. 15 minutes later, the two have returned to the bedroom. Lu Yunqi rushed into the bathroom and took a shower as quickly as possible. When he came out, he saw Qi Xuanxuan had put on a set of silk pajamas and was sitting on the sofa. Excitedly said, Madam, I'm done washing, hee. Qi Xuanxuan looked up when she heard the sound, and saw that Lu Yunqi was only wrapped in a bathrobe, but he hadn't worn a belt, and some bulging shorts came into view. Chao Lian had already flushed to her neck, and she felt that her ears were too hot, her heartbeat also accelerated a lot, and some intimate images appeared uncontrollably in her mind. Can't you fasten your belt? Qi Xuanxuan said bitterly, but the expression on her face was very sincere, especially Lu Yunqi's looming abdominal muscles, which made her look away. For Lu Yun's sake, she was staring at her abdominal muscles intently, the corners of her mouth rose slightly, and mistake, the whole bathrobe slipped off. Ah, you. Qi Xuanxuan screamed in surprise. When she saw that Lu Yun had 8-pack abs in her daily life, the words in her mouth were swallowed raw. The whole person seemed to be petrified, and the saliva in his mouth was about to overflow. Grunt. Swallowed. Madam, come and feel it. Lu Yun stepped forward, picked up Qi Xuanxuan's jade hand, and placed it on his abdominal muscles. When Yu Shou touched the firm abdominal muscles, a tingling sensation immediately hit the two of them. Qi Xuanxuan contracted her fingers subconsciously, but her strong abdominal muscles seemed to be attractive, so she couldn't take it off. The subtle feeling between Yu Shou and her abdominal muscles made her a little bit fond of her. Lu Yunqi felt the weak temperature from the jade hand, and said in his heart, "Tisk tusk tusk, it turns out that my wife is so good." Immediately, resisting the inner heat, he asked tenderly, "Do you still like it?" Qi Xuanxuan's fiery heart made her answer subconsciously, "Yeah. It's very strong." However, the movement of her hand did not stop in the slightest, following the lines of the abdominal muscles, feeling, this feels really good. "Madam, can I touch your abs?" Lu Yun said with a smirk. Qi Xuanxuan suddenly raised her eyebrows and glanced at Lu Yun, retracted her jade hand, then climbed onto the bed, stance on her face, her red lips lifted upwards, and said, "Then you give me a massage first. If I am satisfied, please satisfy you." "Go." Lu Yun got up and climbed onto the bed immediately and started the ancestral massage technique. 10 minutes later, Qi Xuanxuan got up and went into the bathroom to rinse. Within 5 minutes of entering, he left the bathroom. Seeing Lu Yunqi standing stupidly at the door of the bathroom, he frowned, and said, "Sweat all over, go and wash quickly." "Good luck." Lu Yun rushed into the bathroom, used the fastest speed, and came out. He came to the bed with excitement, and said anxiously, "Madam, are you satisfied just now?" At this moment, looking at the stunner lying in front of him, Lu Yun's hands were already unbearable, especially the faint fragrance of Qi Xuanxuan's body, which made his blood flow straight into his mind. Qi Xuanxuan lay on her back on the bed, and saw the sparks in his eyes almost overflowing, and she felt a little hot all over, and her cheeks were even hotter. Anyway, it's his husband, and both children are so old. Well, it's quite satisfactory. Qi Xuanxuan nodded, and then said in a very small voice, only 10 seconds. After speaking, Qi Xuanxuan closed her eyes shyly and could hear the sound of her heart beating. Although Qi Xuanxuan's voice was very small, at such a close distance, Lu Yunqi could still hear her clearly. Seeing his wife's charming look, the saliva almost came out. Through the thin silk pajamas, her slightly trembling hand touched Qi Xuanxuan's skin that can be broken by a bomb. The abdominal muscles, upwards, are like dancing on the fingertips. In an instant, a burst of numbness spread all over Qi Xuanxuan's body, her red lips biting lightly, enduring the feeling of electricity flowing through her body in her heart, or she would make a sound. At this moment, Lu Yun felt that he was the happiest man in the world. This mountain is a bit high. I'll go, good Q bomb. Just as his throat was a little dry and the beast fire was about to erupt, Qi Xuanxuan suddenly opened her eyes, the time is up. Immediately he took away Lu Yun's hand that had not yet reached the mountain. At this moment, Qi Xuanxuan's face was already like a ripe peach, which made people want to take a bite. "Ah, ma'am, it's not so fast in 10 seconds, right? I've just reached the mountainside and haven't reached the top yet," Lu Yunqi said aggrieved. "Although I am fast, I am not so fast. I had known that I should have been on the top of the mountain just now. Oh, when I promised you, I already started counting time," Qi Xuanxuan said with confidence, holding the smile in her heart. Lu Yun almost closed himself up. The logical thinking of women is really peculiar. It's so reasonable that I can't refute it. Lu Yunqi didn't intend to defend himself, because he knew that to reason with a woman, a man would always be the loser. Qi Xuanxuan saw all the loss on his face. Turning to his side, the jade hand touched the strong abdominal muscles again. Chapter 31. A battle quietly came to an end in the dark. Back on the bed, Qi Xuanxuan fell asleep nestled in Lu Yunqi's arms like a docile cat. This night, very tired, but also very satisfied, even dreaming is a taste of happiness. The next day, early in the morning, Qi Xuanxuan's phone rang. Lu Yun glanced at Qi Xuanxuan who was sleeping in his arms, and lazily picked up her mobile phone. "Hey, who?" A surprised cry came from the other end of the phone. "Ah, who are you? How could Zan Zan's cell phone be in your hands early in the morning?" Lu Yunqi glanced vaguely at the screen of his mobile phone, and the note was white tea. I said, "Beauty, can't you let us sleep more in this morning? I'm her husband, what do you think?" Lu Yun said helplessly. "Oh, you happen to be me. I ate your little tomatoes, and I was poisoned," the white tea on the phone said with a cry. When Lu Yun heard this, his heart felt tight. His wife also ate the little tomato last night. There was no abnormal reaction. Hurriedly asked, "Hey, Beauty, don't worry, let me tell you what is going on. I'm molting all over, and I still have an unpleasant smell on my body. I don't dare to look in the mirror now. The white tea on the phone screamed, almost collapsed. When Lu Yun heard this, he quickly lifted the quilt and glanced at Qi Xuanxuan on the bed. Suddenly, it was like five thunders. What is the situation? Isn't it for Beauty and Beauty? How come? Qi Xuanxuan was still asleep, not knowing that she was like white tea now. Her whole body was like a snake changing skin, and her pajamas were covered with lumps of skin. System, can you explain, what the hell is going on? Host, this is a natural phenomenon, don't panic, they all ate beauty tomatoes, and the products produced by the system are very effective in detoxification and beauty. Just take a bath and everything will be resolved. Lu Yunqi let out a sigh, finally letting go of the stone in his heart. Hey, Bai Mei, don't panic. You just ate too much of our little tomatoes. The reaction now is exactly what it does. You immediately take a bath and you will be fine. Lu Yunqi patiently explained. After hearing the white tea on the other end of the phone, he hung up and rushed into the bathroom. When I got up to go to the bathroom in the morning, I accidentally glanced at the mirror and was shocked. My skin was very itchy and unbearable, and my body was stinky, and there was nothing wrong with everything else. Lu Yun got up here, hung up the phone, and was about to pick up Qi Xuanxuan, who was asleep, to the bathroom. Qi Xuanxuan suddenly opened her eyes, her breath moved slightly. "Oh, husband, what's the smell? Why is it so?" "Oh," Qi Xuanxuan asked curiously, pinching her nose. He quickly sat up from the bed and yelled immediately. Husband, what's wrong with me? It's okay, it's the little beauty tomato that I ate last night. At night, its powerful detoxification and beauty functions have been used, and some of the toxins in your body have been eliminated. Now we can take a bath." Lu Yunqi stroked Qi Xuanxuan's cheek, comforting gently. "Call out." Qi Xuanxuan didn't want to say more at all. She was afraid that if she stayed for a second, she would be stinked by herself. He rushed into the bathroom and took a quick shower. After washing, standing in front of the mirror again, the whole person was shocked. This is completely different from before taking a shower, let alone my mood. In the mirror, Qi Xuanxuan's skin was like an egg that had just been peeled, white and tender. It seems to break when touched, just like squeezing out water. Qi Xuanxuan gently stroked her skin, already immersed in it, and her heart was extremely excited and joyful. It suddenly appeared in his mind, the scene when Lu Yun touched it. The expression must be very exciting. Walking out of the bathroom, his cell phone rang again. Qi Xuanxuan picked up the phone, and Bai Cha's excited voice came over there. "Hey, handsome man, I'm done washing, hee." In a luxurious villa in Yudu, Bai Cha is still standing in front of the bathroom mirror, admiring her skin, and calling, mainly to thank Sha Lu Yunqi for little tomato. Maybe it's because I'm so excited now, so I just said something simple and excited. When Qi Xuanxuan heard it, she remembered that Bai Cha had eaten a lot of small tomatoes at her home last night, and she ticked her mouth, jokingly, "Do you want me to wash it for you?" When Bai Cha heard Qi Xuanxuan's voice, she almost fell into the toilet with her phone, feeling a guilty conscience. But as Qi Xuanxuan's good girlfriend for many years, how easy is it to be fooled? "Wow, okay, how about a mandarin duck bath?" Bai Cha replied happily. "Go to the side, eat such a good little tomato from our family, remember to think about how to thank my husband." Qi Xuanxuan said angrily. "Okay, no problem, as long as you don't mind, I can agree with my body," Bai Cha replied. At this time, Qi Xuanxuan had already returned to the bed, and the voice of the phone was not low. Lu Yunqi just heard it, and there was a tremor all over his body. "Two stunning beauties. Get off." Qi Xuanxuan hung up angrily. Seeing Lu Yunqi's somewhat horrified expression, I was still very satisfied. Well, next, there is another duel on the sofa in the bedroom. 7:30. After Lu Yunqi changed the bedding and sheets, he got up to send the child to school. Qi Xuanxuan continued to sleep. It's not that she doesn't want to get up, but that her legs are so sore that she can't stand still. After returning Tang Tang and Guago, the babysitter at home was very curious why the eldest lady hadn't gotten up today. After Lu Yunqi explained it, he went back to the room. She glanced at Qi Xuanxuan, who was still sleeping, and when she was about to close the door and leave, her gentle voice came from behind. Husband, you send me to the company today. She didn't want the assistants to see Qi Xuanxuan's current state, but she had to go to the company to deal with the company's affairs. Good, Lu Yun replied and walked to the bed, helping Qi Xuanxuan to get up. It's 9:30 in the morning. Lu Yunqi drove to the underground garage of Haochen building, and accompanied Qi Xuanxuan on the president's exclusive elevator to the president's office. I didn't encounter too many employees along the way. Although Qi Xuanxuan's secretaries saw the strangeness, they could only bury it in their hearts. Wife, you work here, I'll go home and cook lunch for you. After sending Qi Xuanxuan into the office, Lu Yun started to speak. Well, drive slowly on the road. Qi Xuanxuan sat in the boss chair and smiled happily. Although the leg still hurts, she is very happy in her heart. It is enough for a woman to have such a caring husband in her life. As soon as Lu Yunqi turned around, the office door was opened. Hey, handsome guy Lu, why are you here, Zan Zan? The visitor was Bai Cha, who was extremely excited. When he opened the door, he saw Lu Yunqi and said hello very happily. I said Miss Bai, if you don't guard your Bai family group, what are you running to me? Qi Xuanxuan's voice came from the boss chair behind Lu Yun. Yeah, it turns out that the handsome guy is here. It's amazing. I haven't gotten up at that time today. I must have been tired last night. For so long. Shut up, what are you talking nonsense? Say, what are you looking for? Qi Xuanxuan blackened her face and scolded. Ah, I'm not here to thank you specifically, look at my face now, how tender. Bai Cha walked to the desk and pointed to his face triumphantly. Q-bomb, tender, do you think you can be proud in front of me? Qi Xuanxuan said irritably. Just kidding, the white tea eats my own tomatoes, so I am embarrassed to show off in front of me. Bai Cha glanced at Qi Xuanxuan who was sitting in the boss chair. A DJ, hastily, well, hey, Zan Zan, I will do two things. First, ask where you bought the little tomatoes. Second, didn't you hear that you bought the rights to the film and television adaptation of Tian Long Ba Bu? I want to ask you for a role. White tea is not boring anymore, and simply tells the truth about its purpose. Wife, then you talk first, I'll go back and cook for you first. At this moment, Lu Yun started to speak. I don't have a code word today, so I have to go back and code 2 chapters quickly. Drive slowly on the road. Qi Xuanxuan originally wanted to stand up, but her legs were still a little weak, afraid that Bai Cha would see it, and she sat and said with concern. Man, remember to make one more, I want to eat too. Just when Lu Yun lifted his foot to leave, Bai Cha suddenly said. Lu Yun looked back at Qi Xuanxuan, who nodded helplessly. After Lu Yunqi left the office, Bai Cha leaned forward to the desk again, and said with a look of envy, Zan Zan, I really envy you now. There is such a handsome and warm husband who makes it for you every day, loving lunch. Qi Xuanxuan was also very happy when she heard her best friend praise her husband. She smiled and said, hurry up and find one too. Cut, do you think that a good man like your husband is Chinese cabbage? Where is it so easy to find? Bai Cha grumbled. Okay, let's talk about business. The little tomato you want was bought by my husband. As for where you bought it, I don't know. You have to ask him. There are still a lot of documents on Qi Xuanxuan's desk, and she doesn't have much time to spend time with her girlfriends and parents. Ah, why didn't you say it earlier? I thought your chef bought it. Bai Cha was overjoyed and said with a surprised look on her face. If Lu Yunqi bought Little Tomato, she can ask, but he still owes himself a favor. The second thing, did your family allow you to come out to act? Qi Xuanxuan asked curiously. After Bai Cha pondered for a moment, she said, when, of course, oh, don't care about so many details, I think the Dragon Babu is written really well, I also want to complete my martial arts dream. I don't think about the protagonist Wang Yuyan. After all, I am not well known, but supporting characters like Azu or Mu Qingwan in the book should be fine for me. Although Bai Cha is the daughter of the Bai family, she was first studied in the acting department. Because she was forcibly embraced by a male fan during a performance, the Bai family never allowed her to come out to act. Instead, she went back to take over the business of Bai's wine business, but in her heart she always had a dream of being a good actor. Recently, I finally saw a very good book on Kedian literature. I originally wanted to pay for the copyright, but after inquiring about it, Qi Xuanxuan was a step ahead, so I came to Qi Xuanxuan for a role. Are you sure you just want to play a supporting role? Qi Xuanxuan asked with a serious face. She also knew about Bai Cha's acting skills. Before she retired, she was a third-rate actor. If she played a supporting role, she would have no problem with Bai Cha's image. But she always feels that the idea of white tea is not so simple. It's almost certain, or if I invest half of my investment and let me play the leading role, I can barely be competent, he. Bai Cha said with a modest look. Qi Xuanxuan. However, Qi Xuanxuan is not a professional about this matter after all. You have to see what Ning Nanan said for details, so she did not rush to agree. Professional people do professional things. Qi Xuanxuan took out her mobile phone and called Ning Nanan. The other side, 10 o'clock in the morning. Lu Yun went back to the villa and ordered the nanny to go out and buy some ingredients, while he brought the computer to the garden to start coding. In the past few days, he has updated tens of thousands of words every day, so the book is getting more and more popular. When he turned on the computer and logged into the writer's area, he was shocked. Tianlong Ba Bu unexpectedly unknowingly made it into the top 10 list of new books on Kedian.com, and it has been hanging on the eye-catching banner. During this period of time, many middle-aged people went to Kedian to read books specially while spreading word of mouth. Don't ask why he knows. Because now in the book circle, there are countless first-level trumpets that look like they have spent money to get a navy. In fact, Lu Yunqi knows that he doesn't have one. And these first-level trumpets, they didn't have the habit of reading online, because of Tianlong Ba Bu, so they registered their account to watch. The current Tianlong Ba Bu reward list has more than 12,000 people rewarding, and many of them came to reward the first-level accounts. But what made Lu Yunqi even more surprised was that dozens of reward messages appeared in the writer's news last night. After the user finishes 3,322,323, he will reward 1 million book coins for Tianlong Ba Bu. User online game 231,324. Rewarded, Tianlong Ba Bu, 1 million book coins. After the user finishes 3,322,323, he will reward 10 million book coins for Tianlong Ba Bu. User online game 231,324, rewarded 10 million book coins for Tianlong Ba Bu. On Kedianliterature.com, 1 million book coins is 10,000 soft sister coins, and there will be a silver treasure chest, and 10 million book coins is a gold treasure chest. Many people who watched the excitement also made noise in the book circle. This is too exciting. Is it so casual to brush up the golden treasure chest? It's a fight with a fairy that's rarely seen in a century. Who said no? I thought I was watching the live broadcast, and the whole station broadcast on the app has never stopped, but does anyone know who these two are? I know, those two are engaged in game development. I guess they both read this book and want to buy his game development copyright. That's it, it's okay. Anyway, those who are rich in game development. Lu Yunqi looked at the reward record from the writers backstage, and both of them smashed a dozen golden treasure boxes, worth more than 1 million. Hey, I really met a local tyrant. Lu Yun sighed involuntarily. The grudge rewards of these two local tyrants, I can at least get 1 million in calculations, and this hasn't counted the manuscript fees and other people's rewards. Now I have become a god. When the copyright fee is paid, I can go home and buy a big house for my parents. Lu Yun muttered softly. Unconsciously, the time has come to 11 o'clock in the morning. It's time to cook for my wife. Well, I didn't write a word again in the morning, and it was destined to be unable to update at noon. After watching the book circle for a whole morning, the Tianlong Ba Bu app has already shown millions of fans, and all the data are fierce. It seems that a wave of monthly ticket lists can be hit by the end of the month. At noon, Lu Yun started to make a meal and sent it to Qi Xuanxuan. This time it was the same as usual, except that 2 more beauty tomatoes were added to the lunch. Office of the President of Haochen Building. Qi Xuanxuan has been sitting in the boss chair looking at the documents, and occasionally a secretary came in to report on some company affairs, and throughout the morning, her buttocks had not been moved. Bai Cha is sitting on the sofa and drinking tea leisurely. She is the general manager of a company, and now she is not leaving here to eat a meal made by Lu Yunqi. In this regard, Qi Xuanxuan is also very helpless. Wow, Zan, please read it quickly. The book has been updated again. I haven't read it for a day. The book circle is so popular. The white tea sitting on the sofa drinking tea suddenly said excitedly. Qi Xuanxuan, who was looking down at the document, was slightly startled, then put down the document and began to look at it with relish. Boom boom boom. At this time, Lu Yunqi knocked on the door. In, Qi Xuanxuan said without raising her head. Lu Yun pushed open the door, and saw that Bai Cha was really sitting in Qi Xuanxuan's office. You were waiting, smiling bitterly. Hey, this cooking is too delicious, and it is also a sin. I just want to keep my wife's stomach, but I don't want to keep my wife and her girlfriend's stomach. But this time I also prepared 2 lunches. After all, the white tea was tight-lipped yesterday, otherwise the necklace would not serve as a fuse for the decisive battle. Seeing that both of them were looking down and playing with their mobile phones, Lu Yun got up and walked to the desk, handed Qi Xuanxuan a cucumber, and said softly, "Don't work so hard, eat a cucumber first, and replenish blood." Qi Xuanxuan raised her head upon hearing the sound, and saw Lu Yun's handsome face, with a reproachful expression on her face. It was this guy who made herself so embarrassed now, but her mouth calmly said, "Okay." Bai Cha, who was originally immersed in the world of martial arts, suddenly raised his head to look at the voice of a man, and immediately saw Lu Yunqi's back. Well, I admit, he is so handsome, even his back is so charming. Hey, handsome guy, this is wrong with you, just give it to your wife. Can't you see that there is a beautiful woman here? Bai Cha quickly put away the phone, got up and came to Lu Yun's back, patted her shoulder, and smiled. Although the novel is good-looking, in front of foodies, it is clear that food is the first. You have them too, but of course the good things must be eaten by my wife first. Lu Yun turned around and took out 2 cucumbers and handed them to the white tea. I took the cucumber white tea and was about to thank me happily. I was so sour by these words and walked to the sofa with the cucumber. After Qi Xuanxuan finished eating a cucumber with blood and vitality, she felt her body recovered a lot. Although her legs were still aching, she couldn't tell if she didn't observe it carefully. Come to eat, Lu Yunqi shouted after putting the food on the dinner table. The 2 women heard the sound and walked over. For lunch, although white tea is very fragrant, it is also very sour. After the 2 girls finished eating, Lu Yun started to pack up and leave. After all, he had to go back to update in the afternoon. In the office, after the 2 women finished their lunch, Ning Nan arrived shortly after. The 3 women talked about matters related to the start of the shooting of Tianlong Ba Bu. Lu Yunqi returned to the villa to prepare for a crazy start code. Time passed, and half a month passed in a blink of an eye. During this half-month, Lu Yunqi lived a very regular life every day. He got up at 7 o'clock in the morning and sent his 2 babies to school. He returned home in the morning and started code words. He made love lunch for Qi Xuanxuan at noon, and went back to the villa to continue the code words in the afternoon. And during this period, Tianlong Ba Bu achieved fabulous results under the horrific update volume of Lu Yunqi's quality and quantity. From the perspective of writers, KidianLiterature.com has put up banners on the homepage of Tianlong Ba Bu for half a month. The website and app add up to tens of millions of readers every day, and they can see this as soon as they enter the station. Book. It is conceivable that this horrible amount of exposure, the number of readings that can be generated every day, is very huge. Many of the veteran masters of KidianLiterary.com are very uncomfortable looking at them. Normal banner recommendation has a prescribed cycle, so that it will be fairer to everyone. But this, the 8 parts of the dragon, was completely unreasonable for recommending positions, and it was directly hung on the banner for half a month. But when they couldn't help but click into the book to read this book, all their dissatisfaction with the website disappeared. Because this book is so good to read. Even those great gods who write fantasy or cities, when they see the content of Dragon Babu, they have become fans of it. The brushwork, plot, characterization, rhythm, rationality of the story, etc., are all so impeccable. From the reader's point of view, Lu Yunqi's update speed is really refreshing for them. The average author basically maintains a stable 2 to 4 shifts a day, every 2,000 words. As long as it keeps on updating, it can be regarded as very diligent. For some great gods, if they can update 5 to 10 shifts a day, it would be great happiness to the beep. But how big is Dugayan? It has been updated to nearly 1 million words in less than 20 days since the publication of the book, and the average daily update volume is more than 50,000. Of course, no one would think that Lu Yunqi's hand speed was too fast, and they all subtly think that this is because they have too many manuscripts. The main reason is that such a large amount of update makes readers look very happy. However, more importantly, even with such a large update, there is no water at all, it is full of plot dry goods. This also greatly enhances readers' love of the author. On this day, Lu Yunqi came to deliver meals to Qi Xuanxuan as usual. Entering the office, she discovered that Qi Xuanxuan was not in the office, and Lu Yun simply sat on the sofa and played with her mobile phone. Although he has been to the company several times, he is not very familiar with the company. The reason why he didn't send a message to ask is because he confirmed before he came that Qi Xuanxuan is indeed in the company. Take out the phone and start to scan Weibo. I just opened Weibo and saw an announcement from Haochen Entertainment. We have won the right to adapt the film and television of Tian Long Ba Bu, and we look forward to Haochen Entertainment bringing you a new style of martial arts drama next. The new drama is in preparation, so stay tuned. Lu Yunqi curiously clicked into the comment on Weibo, and the whole comment area was exploded. Subsequently, there were several hot searches about Tianlong Babu on Weibo hot searches, and many fans expressed that they are looking forward to the new home martial arts movie. At the same time, many artists under Haochen Entertainment have also posted Weibo, with high expectations for the new home, and the male and female protagonists have been determined. Among them, the person who made everyone talk about it was actually the actor of the heroine Wang Yuyan. Because of this person, Lu Yunqi also knew. That is Qi Xuanxuan's best friend, White T. A second-line actor who withdrew from the entertainment industry 3 years ago. This time he will actually appear in Denon Babu. This made Lu Yunqi very surprised. He had never heard of Bai Cha before that she was still an actor, and she had always thought she was just a stubborn princess. The fans of Baicha are very curious. They didn't expect that the first play of Baicha's comeback was in ancient martial arts. For a while, many fans began to wonder, what kind of story is this new home telling, and the high cold goddess Baicha, who is well known in the entertainment industry, is willing to make a comeback for it. Therefore, the fans of all the artists under Haochen Entertainment, with curiosity, began to go to Kidian Literature Network to search for Tianlong Ba Bu. At this moment, the entire Kidian Literature Network became popular on Weibo. The book, Dragons and 8 Parts, was even more so hot. Even on the streets and alleys, people could be heard talking about it. And the fans of those artists, after seeing the book Denon Babu, even became its fans directly. A wave of new martial arts is sweeping across China. Many readers left messages in the book circle of Dragon Babu. I have always known this book. I started reading it 10 days ago and has been waiting for it to be updated every day. In the office, the most chatting among colleagues is Dragon Babu. If you haven't read it, you won't be able to talk. This martial arts, love. Quote. I started to look forward to the TV series produced by Haochen Entertainment. I want to see how powerful and domineering Chao Feng's 18 Palms of Zhonglong is in the TV series. If it hadn't been for the Weibo of the White Tea Goddess, I wouldn't know that there is still such a beautiful martial arts novel. I look forward to the new home. The author would like to cheer. I am 40 years old this year. I am an old martial arts fan. It is the first time I read a novel on the internet. I was still listening to one of my employees saying that a good martial arts novel was published recently. So with the mentality of trying, I started reading this book, I am deeply involved now, and the author exclaimed. The book circle is about to become a large exchange community. Many readers, after chasing the update, began to discuss the storyline in the novel and the martial arts moves in the book circle. In just less than 20 days, the book circle of The 8 Parts of the Dragon has directly risen to the Platinum Circle, not far from the Masonry Circle. On the monthly ticket list of the Kedian website, the performance of Tian Long Ba Bu is also extremely horrible. After more than 20 days of accumulation, I now have 100,000 monthly tickets and directly entered the top 10 of the monthly ticket list on the website. Because the publishing time is too short, there is still a big gap between the top 3. After all, those books are millions of words, and they are also very dominant in the subject matter. Now they have 4 to 5 million monthly ticket. Moreover, the monthly ticket for Liu Yunqi's book began to soar after Haochen Entertainment announced the purchase of the copyright of the film and television adaptation. Before, it may be due to everyone's inherent concept, even if you see a recommendation, if you see a martial arts novel, you will subconsciously think that there is nothing new in martial arts novels, so you will not click in the recommendation to read. Under the leadership of those celebrity fans, many people who really clicked in to read know how attractive this book is. Lu Yun sat up in Qi Xuanxuan's office, looking at the hot book circle, with a small smile at the corner of his mouth. It seemed that all this was in his expectation. About 10 minutes later, Qi Xuanxuan returned to the office from the outside, and when she entered the door, she saw Liu Yunqi sitting on the sofa. A smile appeared on his tired face and said, "It's been a long time." Lu Yun stood up when he heard the sound, looked at Qi Xuanxuan's strong smile, and said worriedly, "What's wrong? You look a little uncomfortable." Although he is not the kind of person who can read minds, he can still do the most basic observation, let alone his own wife. Qi Xuanxuan smiled and shook her head. "No, that's good, let me see, what delicious food you made for me today." Qi Xuanxuan didn't want to bring her work troubles to Lu Yun, and she was really just a little tired. That's because the meeting has been held for a long time in the morning, about the real estate company buying the land in Yudu. Originally, she thought that it would be simpler to deal with the real estate company after the entertainment company has made achievements. Unexpectedly, the company did not give her much time. The entire group is like a large machine running frantically, and there will always be various problems. Well, in this world, there is nothing that a cucumber can't solve. If there is, then two. Liu Yunqi led Qi Xuanxuan to the dinner table and said with a smile. He knew that there were some things that he still had no ability to help. Since Qi Xuanxuan was unwilling to tell him, then Liu Yunqi would not take the initiative to ask. Before he had enough powerful abilities, what Liu Yunqi could do was to make good food for her every day. Of course, he could work harder to write a few classic novels, and he could help Qi Xuanxuan. Well, today's food is very rich, thank you husband. After eating half of the cucumber, Qi Xuanxuan felt a lot more relaxed physically and mentally, and she couldn't help but praise her when she looked at the rich dishes on the table. Well, you can eat more if it tastes good, I'll rub your shoulders. Lu Yun got up and stood behind Qi Xuanxuan, putting his hands on her shoulders gently, kneading. Qi Xuanxuan ate a sumptuous lunch for half an hour. After eating, Liu Yunqi didn't stay too much because he wanted to go back to the code word, and left the office in the eyes of Qi Xuanxuan. After returning to the villa, Lu Yun started to code words frantically on the computer. Now that I maintain a creative speed of 50,000 per day, it will take about 10 days before the end of the entire book. When Tang Tang and Guago were over in the afternoon, Lu Yun got up and left the villa. When the car had just left the community, it was going straight through the speed bump, and suddenly a red sports car hit it from the side. Bump. There was a loud noise, and immediately after that, Liu Yunqi felt his car move sideways a bit. Fortunately, the safety performance of BMW cars is good, but others are not a big deal. Pull the handbrake on the car and get out of the car slowly. I saw a red Ferrari sports car, the front hood has been deformed, and the door of his co-pilot was severely sunken. Liu Yunqi stepped forward and looked through the front windshield, only to see a beautiful-looking woman sitting in the car with some helplessness. Knocked on the car window. When the windows and doors of the car opened, a strong scent rushed towards him with a hint of alcohol. "Beauty, did you call the police or did you private?" Lu Yunqi understood what was going on in an instant, and asked lightly. Drunk driving, traffic accidents, serious criminal responsibility and imprisonment. Seeing that this woman is not very old, she is anxious to pick up her baby girl, so Lu Yunqi has no time to spend with her. And now there are not many people onlookers. If there are more people for a while, the traffic jam in the morning will not be good. How much is it, you say? I will pay you. The woman said, slightly drunk. Sitting in the car, the pair didn't mean to get out of the car at all, and holding their mobile phone, they didn't even look up at Lu Yunqi. She only came back from abroad yesterday. She had a few good girlfriends at noon. She hadn't seen each other in a few years, so she was greedy for a few more glasses. Because the place to eat at noon is not far from here, I thought about coming over to see my baby niece, but I didn't know which building it was when I went to the gate of the community. Just now I arrived at the gate of the community, and only then remembered to send a message to my sister to ask, but I did not expect it to crash. Lu Yun frowned at the attitude of the woman, and took out his mobile phone directly. Hey, get me a car out. My car was hit at the gate of the community. Lu Yunqi was calling the nanny in the villa. As for the scene of the car accident, take a good picture first, and of course leave the rest to the traffic police uncle. After a while, Xiao Wang, the babysitter, drove out of the community in a Mercedes-Benz, and took the car keys after he parked the car. Uncle, what are you? Looking at the scene, Xiao Wang widened his eyes and asked with a shocked expression on his face. It's okay, you can stay here and wait for the traffic police to deal with it. I have to pick up the baby. Lu Yunqi took the Mercedes-Benz car key, gave an order, and drove away directly. No matter what, it is not important to pick up my daughter from school. The woman sitting in the Ferrari car clearly heard the conversation between Lu Yunqi and the nanny just now. Cannot help but become nervous. She still has a smell of alcohol when she speaks, and if the police uncle comes, she will suffer. At that time, one's own brilliant life will leave a deep shadow of darkness. He shook his head, sobered himself a little bit, and quickly called his girlfriends for help. As a result, I made several calls in a row, but no one answered. Probably because I drank too much at noon, I fell asleep immediately when I got home. In desperation, the woman had no choice but to bite the bullet and dial a number. After a few rings, a surprised voice came from the other end of the phone. Oh, why are you willing to call me today? I was in a car accident at the gate of your community. The woman said lightly. On the other end of the phone, he was slightly startled, and then asked, Lingshan, have you returned to China? The tone was full of doubts. It is Qi Xuanxuan's younger sister, Qi Lingshan, who drives the red Ferrari sports car. Because I was studying in Country M, in 4 years, except when Qi Hao died, he came back once. At other times, he basically stayed in Country M and rarely returned to China. She had told Qi Xuanxuan several times before that she had returned to China, but Qi Xuanxuan was happy several times. Yes, I ran into someone and drank with some girlfriends at noon. Qi Lingshan said truthfully. She and Qi Xuanxuan, two sisters, although the sisters are deeply affectionate, they also compete with each other, and they belong to each other's sisters. She used to call her best friend before, just didn't want her sister to think that she could do nothing except singing. You wait for me there, I immediately said. If you dare to lie to me this time, I will definitely not spare you. In the office of the president of Haochen Building, Qi Xuanxuan had already carried her bag and was about to go home, and said, threatening. Qi Lingshan didn't speak, and hung up the phone. At the gate of the community, the babysitter Xiao Wang's cell phone rang suddenly. Hey, miss, you go to the gate of our community now to see if someone has had a car accident. Qi Xuanxuan on the phone ordered. Yes, Xiao Wang, the nanny, replied without even thinking about it. Why did you know so soon? Miss, I'm on the scene. Just now, my uncle called me and said that the car had been hit and asked me to send him a car. Now he is going to pick up the little princess. I am here waiting for the traffic police to deal with it. Quote. The babysitter Xiao Wang replied. She thought it was her uncle who called the eldest lady, and she was still a little puzzled. Since it has been so 9, why did the eldest make a call to herself? Qi Xuanxuan, who was sitting in the Maybach, had a wry smile on her face. What kind of script is this? The first time my husband saw my sister-in-law, was it actually at the scene of a car accident. Xiao Wang, the traffic police hasn't come yet, so quickly ask someone to drive another car. Qi Xuanxuan remotely commanded. Although Qi Lingshan is a little bit naughty, she can't just watch her sister get locked in. Ah, Missy, do you know another car owner? Xiao Wang, the nanny exclaimed. She was recruited by Qi Xuanxuan after buying a villa here. Qi Lingshan has not been mentioned before. You can ask someone to go as soon as possible, and I will be there soon. On the other end of the phone, Qi Xuanxuan said anxiously, and then hung up. He urged the driver again. Xiao Wang, the babysitter, confused and called another babysitter. Qi Xuanxuan also directly sent a WeChat message to Qi Lingshan, asking her to drive the car to someone else, and also told her that the person she hit was her husband, that is, her brother-in-law. Qi Lingshan sat in the car. After reading Qi Xuanxuan's news, she was completely embarrassed. Oh, let me go. This is really a bloody plot. I actually drove into my brother-in-law. I wanted to let others know about the relationship. I thought Qi Lingshan was going to murder my brother-in-law. No, sister, brother-in-law, when did my sister get married? What does that person look like? He was tall, short, fat and thin, and he didn't know anything about it. I blame this mobile phone, it's too much delay. If I knew it, I'll take a good look. After a while, the traffic police uncle came. At this time, Qi Lingshan had already returned to Qi Xuanxuan's villa under the leadership of the nanny. As for the scene of the car accident, it was handed over to Xiao Wang and another nanny to solve it. The other side, after Lu Yun went to the kindergarten and picked up the two little babies, he drove home directly. Because the car accident at the gate of the community has been delayed for a while, I have to go home and cook for my wife. When I returned home, I looked around and found Qi Xuanxuan sitting on the sofa, chatting with a woman with a familiar hair color. Why did you come back so early today? There was a delay when picking up my daughter just now. I'm going to cook now. After entering the door, she said to Qi Xuanxuan, then turned and walked into the kitchen. Mummy, Mummy, Tang Tang and Guago both got up from Lu Yun and ran towards Qi Xuanxuan excitedly. Qi Xuanxuan stood up and stooped to pick up the two little princesses, and kissed both of them on their faces. Baby, did you obediently listen to the teacher at school today? Wow, there is wow, Tang Tang is behaved in school today. Tang Tang replied with a smile. Not to be outdone, Guago said, Mummy, Guago is also very good today. Sitting on the sofa, Qi Lingshan stared at the scene in front of her with wide eyes. She also knew that she was an aunt before, but she had never seen it before. When her father passed away, she just returned to the United States in full after attending the memorial service. I have never seen my two little nieces before, and now they look so beautiful. They have inherited the fine lineage of the Qi family perfectly. These are your two daughters. Qi Lingshan looked at the two cute little treasures, and she liked it in her heart, and looked at Qi Xuanxuan and asked, Mom, who is this beautiful aunt? Why haven't I seen it before? Tang Tang heard Qi Lingshan's voice, turned her head and looked carefully, and asked curiously. The voice of Milky Milk made Qi Lingshan like it even more. It's so cute, so cute. Although Guago didn't speak, her little eyes stared at Qi Lingshan, and her heart was as curious as Tang Tang. Two little babies, what are your names? I'm your mother's sister. Do you know if you want to call me in the future? Before Qi Xuanxuan could speak, Qi Lingshan said with a smile. When the two little cuties heard it, their faces coincidentally showed disbelief, and they looked up at Qi Xuanxuan. Well, she is your aunt and mother's sister. Qi Xuanxuan nodded and introduced to the two children. The eyes of the two little babies fell on Qi Lingshan again. Hey, it seems to be a bit like my mother. However, no mother is pretty. Baby, call my aunt will buy you something delicious. Qi Lingshan looked at the fleshy little cheek, and couldn't help but squeeze it off. But as soon as this hand stretched over, the two little cuties broke away from Qi Xuanxuan's arms in an instant, and moved a safe distance away from Qi Lingshan. Candy looked back and stuck out his tongue at Qi Lingshan, and said gruffly, Ha, don't do it, we only like to eat Dad's food, we don't eat junk food bought outside. 10,000 points of critical damage hit Qi Lingshan's mind directly. I have been independent in Country M for so long, and there is no one who has not been able to deal with it. Now I am actually speechless by two children. Tang Tang and Guago turned around and ran outside the kitchen to enjoy the magical performance of their father. Qi Lingshan cast her gaze to Qi Xuanxuan. Don't look at me, these two little guys are the most sticking to their fathers. You come by yourself, and you don't even bring them gifts. No wonder they don't want to call you. Qi Xuanxuan shrugged and said lightly. Qi Lingshan glanced at the kitchen, the tall and stalwart, busy figure, and asked curiously, I said, you are looking for the brother of the group to pick up the plate, you can actually cook. For my two little nieces, there is no other way but to figure out what sacred this so-called brother-in-law is, and can actually conquer Qi Xuanxuan, who has always been cold like an iceberg. What's more is that today I almost got into the game because of this brother-in-law who had never met. What's the mess? He is the biological father of two children. Qi Xuanxuan's face changed drastically. After she finished speaking, she quickly took Qi Lingshan to the sofa far away from the kitchen, patted Qi Lingshan's slender waist fiercely, and said solemnly, Lingshan, give me a break. That's your brother-in-law. You ran into someone just now, and apologize to him when you feel better. The younger sister is a real sister, but the husband is the man who can give himself happiness for a lifetime. And this matter is indeed Qi Lingshan's fault. I said, sister, what does he do? You make you so serious, and you want me to apologize to him. I almost got into the game by him. You still asked me to apologize to him. Qi Lingshan was not happy to hear it. I am the grand lady of the family, how could I apologize to my brother-in-law? And regarding Qi Xuanxuan's marriage, she often talks with her home on the phone, and she has never heard of it. It must be hidden from the family. If this is the case, even if he has not officially entered the Qi family, then he should come and apologize to me, and then ask me to say something nice to him. Yes, that's it, he should apologize to me. Because he is your brother-in-law and my husband, you were wrong in this matter first, so you must apologize. Qi Xuanxuan said coldly. However, Qi Lingshan's cold face didn't have any effect at all, and there was no deterrence at all. Don't look at me with that look, he hasn't seen his grandparents yet. And they don't know you are married, right? Qi Lingshan asked confidently. She clearly remembered that in the family, she was planning to marry Qi Xuanxuan to the Leng family in Sichuan province, and the Leng family was also very interested. To put it bluntly, it's just family marriage, which is very good for both groups. Who I am married to, of course, is up to me. Why, do you think you have the ability now and want to threaten me? After Qi Xuanxuan listened to Qi Lingshan's words, she was also drumming in her heart, but she said without shyness. How is it possible? You are my sister, of course I won't threaten you, but... Qi Lingshan said, moving her eyes to the direction of the kitchen. The threat in words is quite obvious. It seemed that Qi Xuanxuan's weakness was poked, and the momentum on her body disappeared in an instant. The two sisters sat down peacefully and started negotiations. Lu Yunqi has been busy in the kitchen, because when he walked in, he saw guests from home, so he made a few more dishes. After an hour, scents wafted from the kitchen. The other people in the villa are already used to it. Since Lu Yun moved into the villa, they can smell this attractive color fragrance every day. But Qi Lingshan, who came to the villa for the first time, was a fatal temptation. Guru, Qi Lingshan, who was sitting on the sofa chatting, couldn't help swallowing her saliva. He used to be a chef. The two were about to negotiate. Qi Lingshan glanced at the kitchen curiously, and then turned to look at Qi Xuanxuan and asked. Qi Xuanxuan shook her head, did not speak, her heart ached at the moment. Because in the negotiation just now, she has taken out the most precious little tomato as a bargaining chip, and sealed the mouth of her unruly sister. Xiao Wang, serve food, have dinner. Lu Yunqi's baritone voice came from the kitchen. As a singer, Qi Lingshan's eyes flashed with golden light when she heard it, as if she had discovered some incredible baby. Sister, shall we karaoke tonight? Qi Lingshan said with a smile on her face. Seeing this smiling face, Qi Xuanxuan's heart tightened. This little niece, with this look, must be nothing good. But when she just came back, she couldn't refuse. There was a recreation room in the villa, which was convenient. I'll talk after dinner, Qi Xuanxuan said lightly, and walked towards the dining table with Qi Lingshan. With the help of the nanny, a total of 12 delicious dishes quickly filled the table. Wow, there are sweet and sour ribs again today. Tang Tang and Guago, after washing their hands under the care of the nanny, sat on the table, looked at a plate of sweet and sour ribs, cheered excitedly. I'm going to eat 5 yuan today. Guago picked up the chopsticks, quickly picked up a piece of ribs, licked it, and put it in his bowl. Watching Tang Tang and the strange ant on the table warily. When Tang Tang saw it, she was not to be outdone. In the same way, she took 6 spare ribs and placed it in her bowl. Qi Xuanxuan laughed. Qi Lingshan stared at her 2 cute little nieces. Even if the ribs are delicious, as the little princess of the Qi family, doesn't it need to look like this? I'm afraid that someone will steal their delicious food. The daily dinners of the 2 babies are matched by your brother-in-law's nutrition. The ribs are the favorite of the 2 little guys, but they can only eat twice a week. Qi Xuanxuan explained next to her. Qi Lingshan suddenly realized, I thought it was you who were poor, so I couldn't bear to buy meat for my niece. At this time, Lu Yun came out of the kitchen carrying a plate of small tomatoes and a few cucumbers with blood. Fresh cucumber. Lu Yun's voice stopped abruptly as he walked out of the kitchen door. Qi Lingshan also heard of her reputation, although she already knew that the person she hit today was her brother-in-law. But at the time, I didn't see what this person looked like. When she saw Lu Yunqi's face clearly at this moment, she suddenly understood why such a cold sister would risk being reprimanded by her family to marry this man. She and Qi Xuanxuan are relatives, and they know more than Baicha, so she doesn't think it is Lu Yun who has denied trousers since 3 years ago. Why are you here? Lu Yunqi calmed down and walked to the dinner table, asking with a somewhat unkind look in his eyes. This woman almost sent herself to the West, and now she still has to eat her own meal. But how could she show up in my house? And it seems to have a good relationship with his wife. Husband, let me introduce you. This is my sister, Qi Lingshan. Qi Xuanxuan stood up and introduced, Lingshan, this is your brother-in-law, Lu Yunqi. Dwang. A plate of precious little beauty tomatoes, after a few beats on the floor, rolled around. The blood cucumber was almost broken to pieces. Only the plate was made of plastic, and it jumped slightly in the air a few times, and finally landed steadily on the ground. Brother-in-law, hello, my name is Qi Lingshan. Qi Lingshan stood up and said with a smile. To say that before, there was still a bit of resentment towards this brother-in-law. When she saw this handsome face, the resentment in Qi Lingshan's heart had long since vanished. You are Zan Zan's sister, sent by your family. Lu Yunqi looked at Qi Lingshan vigilantly and asked. I always thought that it was just a simple car accident, but if this woman is Qi Xuanxuan's younger sister, wouldn't it be their family, who disagrees with Qi Xuanxuan and me, and deliberately sent her sister to trouble me, right? No, it should be here to take my life directly. Fortunately, the BMW is strong enough. Yes, I am. Hello, let's eat first. Lu Yunqi said lightly. There was already a stormy sea in my heart, and I went to sit down next to the 2 girls. Brother-in-law, actually Qi Lingshan still wanted to explain. Qi Xuanxuan glanced at Lu Yunqi, shook her head slightly, and pulled Qi Lingshan into position to sit down. Okay, let's eat. Your brother-in-law was a little tired just cooking. She knew that Lu Yunqi might have misunderstood that Lingshan was here to trouble him, since he didn't want to give Qi Lingshan a chance to explain. If she went to explain to Lu Yunqi now, it would only make him feel more uncomfortable. A man's self-esteem is sometimes strong in front of outsiders. Qi Lingshan didn't think so much, thinking that Lu Yunqi was tired of cooking, so she didn't want to talk to her. This dinner is destined to end in an awkward atmosphere. While eating, Qi Lingshan has been serving Tang Tang and Guago with vegetables, wanting to further gain the favor of the 2 little nieces. However, what she didn't expect was that these 2 little guys ignored her at all, and even the sweet and sour pork ribs they put on them, the 2 little guys ignored her. Tonight, Lu Yun ate very little. After eating, he took his 2 baby daughters into the children's room to play. Oh, I didn't expect this brother-in-law. Apart from being a handsome man and knowing how to cook, everything else can be said to be useless. After eating, Qi Lingshan looked at the message on the phone and said with a smile. Your brother-in-law is very good. Qi Xuanxuan yelled angrily. The relationship between the 2 was so difficult that Nizi had to come to sabotage when they could face each other every day. It's just too hateful. The nightlife will not be pleasant when the husband and wife are separated in their hearts. Also, control your mouth. When your brother-in-law gives me another cucumber tomorrow, I will give you one. Qi Xuanxuan said with some pain. Especially when I saw that a plate of small tomatoes just slowly fell to the ground, they all became the treasure that the nanny was fighting for. Qi Xuanxuan's heart is dripping blood, and those little tomatoes have special functions, and money can't buy them. Moreover, she also knew now that Lu Yunqi got these things, but as to where they got them, she didn't tell her. Ah, didn't you say beauty little tomato? Why are you giving me cucumber now? I don't need it, Qi Lingshan said with a blush. What's so good about cucumber, cold and sour? The other side. Lu Yunqi accompanied Tangtang and Guogo to play in the children's room. Just after playing for a while, Zhou Weiying's video came over. Tangtang, Guogo, come and see Grandpa and Grandma. Lu Yunqi connected the video, pointed the camera directly at the two little cuties, and shouted. At the end of the video, Zhou Weiying was happy to see her two granddaughters. During this period of time, there was a video almost every day, and I looked very happy every time. Hello Grandma. Hello Grandma. The two little cuties walked over and greeted Zhou Weiying enthusiastically. As the corner of the video screen, the grandfather was directly ignored by the two sisters. Well, what did you learn in school today, baby? Zhou Weiying asked with concern with a smile on her face. Grandma, fight monsters, the two little girls said happily. The two sisters have been deeply in love with the two sisters since Zhou Weiying performed the monster in the video last time. When Zhou Weiying heard that the smile on her face was brighter, her magic broom in her hand shook towards the camera. Okay, Grandma is ready. Before fighting the monsters, let Grandma kiss me, moi. Moi, moi. Tangtang and Guogo held the toy in their hands, stretched their heads directly to the screen of the phone, and kissed the screen. A large piece of saliva was left on the screen, which made Lu Yun, who was holding the phone, admire the operation of the two little guys. Such a lovely daughter, so in love. Grandma, fight monsters now, Tangtang reminded coquettishly. Both sisters have already picked up the magic shovel in the toy room, ready to learn how to fight monsters with their grandma. At this moment, Lu Kun in the corner of the screen instantly solidified a smiling face. The first impression of a person is really important. Since the first time, his dark skin and scum on his face scared the two precious granddaughters. In the hearts of the two cute little ones, there is no longer the title of grandfather, but monsters instead. The shadow in my heart is immeasurable. Lu Kun plucked up the courage to squeeze Zhou Weiying away. In the video, a standard head with a big back was shiny and the scum on her face was also trimmed. Without the horrible face before, except for the darker skin, the others looked like a mentally old man. Tangtang, Guogo, two little dears, come call Grandpa, Grandpa buys you candy to eat. Lu Kun's smile on his face looked a little funny, and he even took out a few special pieces from his hand. Alps bought from the village shop. However, the two little treasures showed no interest in the Alps in Lu Kun's hands. The two sisters stared wide-eyed and looked for their grandma on the screen. Where is Grandma? Where did Grandma go? While talking, Sales kept tapping on the screen of the phone, seeming to want to drive out the old man who suddenly appeared on the screen. On Lu Kun's side, he didn't mean to give up at all, and continued to work hard. Two little babies, call Grandpa, I'm Grandpa. He was crying in his heart. It has been for half a month, and the only chance he could leave the country every time was when he played a monster. I have thought of many ways, but it ended like this every time. Two precious granddaughters, selectively ignoring him. Lu Yunqi couldn't bear to see that his father was tortured every day, so he said, Tangtang, Guogo, you two call Grandpa first, and you will come out after you call Grandma. Result: the script did not follow Lu Yunqi's setting at all. The two little babies started crying with a cry in their mouths. No, no, we have to watch Grandma fight monsters, woo. Lu Yunqi was speechless, and silently felt sorry for his father for 3 seconds. And Zhou Weiying, who was next to Lu Kun, looked at her wife sympathetically, and couldn't hold back her laughter. The old man pouted his ass and yelled for a long time, but he made his two granddaughters cry again. When Zhou Weiying heard the cry of Tangtang and Guogo on the other side of the phone, she grabbed the phone and kicked Lu Kun's ass. Go away, look at your rudeness, and start your granddaughter crying again. Originally thought, today the old man managed to clean up himself. he should be able to make a good impression on his two grandchildren. Unexpectedly, this wave of operations by Lu Kun simply failed. Zhou Weiying picked up the phone and quickly comforted in front of the video, "Okay, my little baby, grandma is out, don't cry." After Zhou Weiying's voice came from the phone, the cry of the two little girls stopped abruptly. This scene made Lu Yunqi couldn't help but want to laugh. Lu Kun directly began to doubt life over there. The biggest wish in the world is that the old man wants to hear two granddaughters and grandpa. Today, it seems that he can only be a monster and be happy with his two granddaughters. Grandma, come on, fight monsters. Tang Tang depends on grandma fight monsters. Well, Guago has to watch too. The two sisters wiped the tears from their faces with little hands and said excitedly. In Yuncheng, 4 or 5 hours away from Yudu, in a village called Taohuiyuan, a scene of grandmother hitting monsters is being staged, live broadcast to his granddaughter via mobile phone. The lights in the yard did not go out until 9 o'clock in the evening. In the villa of the Fairview Palace in Yudu, the two little babies hung up the video and followed Zhang Xiao obediently back to the room. 15 minutes later, he fell asleep soundly in the sound of Zhang Xiao's story. When he returned to the bedroom, he found that Qi Xuanxuan had not yet returned to the bedroom, but when he thought that Qi Lingshan was coming, Lu Yunqi was relieved. Before he could figure out the attitude of Qi Xuanxuan's family, Lu Yun felt that he had to be more careful. It is clear that Qi Xuanxuan is such a gentle woman, how can there be such a sturdy sister? If he didn't understand, Lu Yun didn't think about it anymore, and took it into the bathroom to take a shower. In the garden of the villa, Qi Xuanxuan's two sisters have not seen each other for many years, and they talked for a long time. The most important topic is how Qi Xuanxuan should explain to her family that she is married. Sister, it's not that I said you, just like your husband is now, you can only hide in Yudu, the Golden House Tibetan husband. If you let your grandparents know, I'm afraid your husband will suffer. Qi Lingshan was sitting on the bench in the garden, shaking her snow-white feet, and said with some worry. Although she doesn't care about those things in the family, her sister's marriage contract was appointed by her grandfather. If Qi Xuanxuan dared to go against her grandfather's will, she might be suppressed in the family. Although the two sisters are not forgiving, they have deep feelings, so Qi Lingshan definitely does not want this to happen. He's still very good. As for the family, don't talk about your long mouth, they don't know so quickly. When the child gets older, I will arrange something for Yunqi to do in the company, and then I will talk to my grandparents. Bar. Qi Xuanxuan said with a sad face. Why doesn't she understand these things? But Lu Yunqi is the father of his child, and now he is also his husband. As long as he truly controls the Haochen group, the family will be criticized by his grandfather at most. As for the Lang family, big deal, the group will make less money in the future. I said, you still don't forget to slap me at this time. Believe it or not, I will call my mom now. Then, I will see what you do. Qi Lingshan faintly threatened. Okay, it's too early, I asked the nanny to arrange a room for you, it's time to go to bed. Regarding Qi Lingshan's threat, Qi Xuanxuan didn't care at all. She still knew her sister's character. No, sister, do you think it's just what time it is now, you are going to sleep? Qi Lingshan took out her mobile phone and took a look. It's only 10 o'clock in the evening, which is when the nightlife begins, surprised. Qi Xuanxuan glanced at the direction of her bedroom and found that the light had gone out. She took out her mobile phone and looked at it. It's past 10 o'clock now, and I have to go to work tomorrow. If you don't sleep, I have to go to sleep, but I warn you. Don't drive when you go out to play and don't drink when you drive. She knew that Lu Yunqi's daily work and rest were very regular, unless there was a showdown. When he basically coaxed the children, he went back to the room to sleep. Of course, the most important thing is that Qi Xuanxuan went back and explained to Lu Yunqi that he could not cause a misunderstanding between him and Qi Lingshan. Hey, fate, once my sister got married, even her own sister was alienated. Qi Lingshan finished drinking the red wine in the glass, got up and walked towards the villa. Qi Xuanxuan looked at her sister's back, a wry smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. I found that dealing with family relationships is more troublesome than managing Haochen group. Go back to the bedroom. Qi Xuanxuan turned on the light, walked to the closet softly, took her pajamas, and went into the bathroom. After a while, there was a splash of water in the bathroom. Lu Yun heard the sound and slowly opened his eyes. 10 minutes later, Qi Xuanxuan came to the bed in a silk pajamas like a lotus flower, and saw Lu Yun's eyes open. Did you wake you up? Lingshan and I haven't had a good conversation for many years, so. Qi Xuanxuan explained. I know. Before she finished speaking, Lu Yunqi interrupted her, it's May Day the day after tomorrow. I want to go back and see my parents. Okay, I'll make arrangements for the company, let's go home to see our parents. After Qi Xuanxuan went to bed and lay down, she said softly. In the middle of the night, after discussing the time to go home, the two entered their dreams. Early the next morning, Lu Yunqi got up as usual and sent the two little princesses to kindergarten. When the two sisters knew that they were going back to see their grandparents, they seemed very excited. Qi Xuanxuan also woke up early. Last night, because the atmosphere was a little cool, the two did not have a fight, and went to bed very early. At the company in the morning, first arrange the affairs of the entertainment company, and then arrange the affairs of the real estate company in the afternoon. At the end of the day, Qi Xuanxuan would have been tired if it were not for the supplement of blood and cucumber. However, in order to be able to accompany her husband home to see her parents-in-law, she bit the bullet and arranged the work, and asked her assistant to go to the mall to buy a lot of gifts. Lu Yunqi spent the entire day at Codewords, except for picking up children and sending lunch to his wife. He would stop for a while. After these 2 days have been updated, Tianlong Ba Bu has exceeded 1 million words. What makes him even more happy is that today, Kidian Literature Network has also paid the copyright fees to his bank account. According to the previously signed contract, Lu Yunqi received the 6 layers of copyright fees, a total of 32 million copyright fees, and he received nearly 20 million. Moreover, website editor Zhou Yan called to tell him today that the game adaptation rights for Tianlong Ba Bu are now in the negotiation stage, and it should not be long before they will be sold. This made Lu Yunqi somewhat unexpected. People who play games have such a keen sense of smell. But I think of 2 big guys who have won nearly 1 million prizes in their books, and the book circle said that the 2 of them were playing games. Lu Yunqi was relieved. Sure enough, as long as the book is good, there must be a lot of money. In the evening, Tang Tang and Guago were very excited because they were going to their grandparents' house the next day. In the evening video, they made an appointment with their grandma, and they would fight monsters together. The first day of the May Day holiday. The family got up very early, Tang Tang and Guago, each carrying a school bag of toys, especially the teddy bear that Lu Yunqi bought for them before, and the 2 sisters also brought them. Because there are 4 or 5 hours drive, the road to Yuncheng is much easier than the place where he accompanied the 2 little treasures to participate in personal activities last time. Therefore, Lu Yunqi directly drove a Rolls-Royce Phantom, took his wife and children, and went home to tell. Behind their car are 2 Mercedes-Benz cars full of various high-end gifts, each driven by 2 female bodyguards. Qi Xuanxuan said that this was a meeting gift for her father-in-law, so it was hard for Lu Yunqi to say anything. 5.5 hours later, Lu Yun picked up their motorcade and came to the entrance of Taohuyuan village in Yuncheng. It is located in a mountain stream, surrounded by mountains, but in the middle is a small basin, and the village is full of old-fashioned blue brick houses. However, the road is a U-by road, and there is a tall arch at the entrance of the village, on which the 3 characters, Peach Blossom Spring, are written in regular script. On the way into the village, vehicles pass by from time to time. When the vehicle entered the entrance of the village, Lu Yunqi saw Zhou Weiying and Lu Kun standing on the side of the road, as well as many folks who came to see the excitement. Lu Yun got up and drove the car. Seeing this picture, the corners of his mouth twitched. I don't know who thought it was a big star from the village. After parking the car, Lu Yun stood up to face Qi Xuanxuan, who was sitting in the back row, and said, "My wife, you are waiting in the car now, I will go down and take a look." Qi Xuanxuan glanced at the crowd in front of him, and said with a smile, "Husband, let's go down together at this time." After speaking, he directly opened the rear door. The 2 got off the driver and walked towards the crowd hand in hand. Recently, a lot of people have been coming to the village one after another, and all of them are driving luxury cars. Today, there are 3 luxury cars. At first, everyone was not interested in seeing them again. It was only under Zhou Weiying's broadcast that everyone gathered at the entrance of the village. Just want to come and see how beautiful Lu Yunqi, who grew up in Taohuiyuan village, is now marrying. Zhou Weiying has all been blown off as 7 fairies. Now, after seeing the woman Lu Yunqi held hands, everyone standing at the entrance of the village was shocked. One after another began to whisper and whisper. Everyone's emotions were almost enveloped by envy, jealousy and praise. Many men of the same age as Lu Yunqi were jealous when they saw Ji Yu Lingshan, who was holding Lu Yunqi's hands. Oh my God, you are too unfair. The same goes out from Taohuiyuan village. Why is the wife brought back by others as beautiful as a god, but I am still single? The most important thing is that even if the wife is beautiful, she is so rich. Under everyone's gaze, Lu Yun took Qi Xuanxuan's hand and came to Zhou Weiying and Lu Kun. Dad, Mom. When Lu Yun finished shouting, Qi Xuanxuan said with a blushing face, Dad, Mom. Because I've seen it in the video before, I don't need Lu Yunqi to introduce it again. Zhou Weiying was wearing a very flamboyant dress. She stepped forward and embraced Qi Xuanxuan excitedly. Well, the girl is more beautiful than in the video. Mom has been looking forward to it for a long time. Lu Kun combed his head with a big back, and the shiny haircut was probably because he had been standing on the highway for a long time. There was a layer of dust and a smile on his face. Qi Xuanxuan nodded. But his eyes kept staring into the car, trying to see through the window glass of the 2 baby granddaughters sitting inside. After Zhou Weiying and Qi Xuanxuan hugged, they looked around and curiously said, Girl, where are the 2 little babies? Qi Xuanxuan took Zhou Weiying's hand, looked at the villagers gathered around, and explained with a smile, the 2 little guys are a bit afraid of life. Seeing the crowds here, they didn't dare to get out of the car. That's it, that's okay, let's go home quickly, ha ha ha. Zhou Weiying couldn't wait to hug her granddaughter, and urged a little excitedly. Well, Mom and Dad, let's get in the car. After Qi Xuanxuan said, she pulled Zhou Weiying into the car, and Lu Kun followed. Lu Yunqi stood there silently, like a transparent person, unable to find the slightest sense of existence. With a wry smile on his face, I wanted to ask. Dad, Mother, did I send it for your phone bill? Immediately, he said loudly to the folks at the entrance of the village, uncles and aunts, brothers and sisters, folks, thank you all for coming to meet my wife and me in your busy schedule. Let's go home first, and we will send you happy cigarettes and wedding candy later. What? Haha, hurry up, look at your mother like that, you can't even close your mouth with a smile. Yeah, in our village, now your kid is promising, don't forget to invite us to have a wedding wine. After Lu Yunqi finished speaking, 2 elders came out and joked with their throats. Immediately, Lu Yunqi returned to the car and became a driver. The 3 luxury cars drove towards Lu Yunqi's home in the envied eyes of the villagers. Along the way, the 2 little babies are very excited, and they have been obsessed with Zhou Weiying, while Qi Xuanxuan is listening to the close interaction between her 2 daughters and mother-in-law. As for Lu Yunqi, the driver has won. Lu Kun, who was directly ignored by his 2 precious granddaughters, sat in the co-pilot with envy, looking at the picture in the rearview mirror that made him jealous. When the vehicle was about to arrive at the small courtyard where Lu Yun started, he found that there was a very novel courtyard not far from his own yard, and there were many people in the courtyard. So he asked curiously, Dad, whose yard is that? Why is it so lively? Ah, you said that the yard was newly built 2 months ago. I heard that it is a TV station, and what kind of scenes are going to be filmed there? Lu Kun knew which yard Lu Yunqi was asking about without watching. Because of this Taohuiyuan village, no one in the whole village doesn't know that. It is precisely because that after the yard was built, more and more people came from the whole village. Oh, it turned out to be the case, but the scenery in our village is really good. Unfortunately, we came back late and the peach blossoms are almost finished. Lu Yunqi said regretfully as he drove the car. The origin of Taohuiyuan village is because there are peach blossoms all over the mountains in March and April every year. When the peach blossoms are in full bloom, the whole village is like a paradise. They have been here for more than a month, and it is very lively there every day, Lu Kun said. Lu Yun had no interest in what TV station. He was just curious and asked casually. The car followed the cement road and came to the door of Lu Yunqi's house. On the way, I heard my father say that before the TV station came, the county paid special money to repair it, and every household in the village had a cement road. After getting out of the car, Qi Xuanxuan really saw the beautiful and picturesque scenery of this small village. Lu Yun started his home halfway up the mountain. Looking around, the terraced fields, from the mountain stream to the mountainside, are a large peach forest with a few peach blossoms that have not withered. When I look around, all my eyes are green in nature. I take a deep breath, and the breath is fresh air without any pollution. Qi Xuanxuan couldn't help but want to yell with this sense of comfort. It's so beautiful that she has the urge to live here all the time. How about, we are not bad here? Lu Yunqi walked over and asked with a smile. Qi Xuanxuan nodded. She really likes it here. Okay, let's go to the house. If we like it, we will come back for a short stay in the future. Lu Yunqi was very satisfied with the enjoyment on Qi Xuanxuan's face now. Don't say she is a woman, even Lu Yunqi herself likes it very much, away from the hustle and bustle of the city, living Wu Yu's life like a speechless god. When Qi Xuanxuan recovered, the two little babies had already entered the yard to play with Zhou Weiying. With a wry smile, he ordered the security to move the contents of the two cars behind him into the yard. Zhou Weiying, who had just walked into the yard, was stunned as she watched several capable female bodyguards moving various gifts into the yard one by one. At this moment, Qi Xuanxuan also walked into the yard with gifts, and took a look at this old-fashioned two-story building. It was cleaned up and she was just about to speak. Zan, why do you buy so many things? Zhou Weiying asked with surprise. Qi Xuanxuan smiled and explained, Mom, these are all bought for relatives. The first meeting, a little bit of heart. Zhou Weiying is very satisfied with Qi Xuanxuan's comprehensive work style. At this time, Lu Yunqi also walked into the yard with a lot of gifts, and asked curiously, Mom, did the second uncle and they not come? This is not like my mother's magpie character. Zhou Weiying gave Lu Yunqi a white glance, and said, You only came back today. Our own family will get together first, and we will call your uncle and second uncle tomorrow. Lu Yun shrugged. It didn't matter if he continued to carry gifts. It took about 5 minutes for several people to move all the gifts full of cars into the yard. Qi Xuanxuan asked 2 bodyguards and drivers to drive to the county hotel, leaving behind a Phantom and a Mercedes-Benz S-Class at home. She was going to give the Mercedes-Benz to her father-in-law. When the adults were all busy, Tang Tang and Guogo pulled Zhou Weiying to fight monsters together. For this requirement of her baby, Zhou Weiying unconditionally met. Qi Xuanxuan played the role of a photographer, recording this precious video of the early human family taming dinosaurs. Lu Yunqi is like a transparent person, there is no dare to exist, even the opportunity to be an audience. I can only walk into the kitchen bitterly. Knowing that Lu Yunqi's family was coming back, Zhou Weiying and his wife had already bought a lot of ingredients, and he took out some vegetables from his own planting space. After an hour, a sumptuous lunch is ready. Dear hard-working actors, it's time for dinner. Lu Yunqi yelled after putting the last bowl of rice on the table. In the yard, I was having fun playing with candy and fruit, probably because I had consumed too many calories. As soon as I heard Lu Yun's voice, I quickly put down the magic wand in his hand and ran towards the house. Zhou Weiying also took off her costume, sweating profusely, and walked in front of Qi Xuanxuan. Xuanxuan, I went to eat, and it has been a long time since I have eaten the kids' cooking. I don't know if I have grown in cooking now. Quote, Mom, Yunqi's cooking is delicious, you'll know after a while. Qi Xuanxuan replied with a smile. She is still very confident about her husband's cooking skills, and it is even more delicious than the 7-star restaurants she has eaten. Okay, Mom, just taste it. Zhou Weiying's smile never stopped. She was even happier when she heard her daughter-in-law praise her son's meal. Lu Kun, who was sorrowful, was finally able to take off his heavy dinosaur costume and go to eat. The whole family gathered around the old-fashioned square table, and the tempting aroma of dishes made everyone's appetite greatly increased. During the meal, the 2 little babies were taken care of by Zhou Weiying in every possible way, while Lu Yunqi kept eating and feeding Qi Xuanxuan with great affection. After feeding the 2 little babies, Zhou Weiying took a bite with her chopsticks, and then praised, Son, you have made progress in cooking. Have you studied it in the past few years? Zhou Weiying did not say in front of Qi Xuanxuan that before Lu Yun started cooking, he could only fill his stomach, either he added too much salt or he forgot to add salt. The embarrassment of the son, of course, can't stand in front of the daughter-in-law, but now his son's cooking skills. Well, it's not much worse than yourself. I watched the video online, otherwise how to make good food for your baby granddaughter. Lu Yunqi said nonsense, truthfully. Zhou Weiying nodded when she heard it. In any case, the son cooks deliciously, and the mother has a bright face. It shows that I taught well at that time. Towards the end of lunch, Qi Xuanxuan's cell phone suddenly rang. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.